Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome into Hoopsville on this Thursday evening. If you got questions about this sectional weekend ahead, fire 'em at us. We got lots to talk about tonight and hope you will take advantage of the opportunity to join us here on the show. All the information to contact us scrolling at the bottom of your screen. We'll go through who we have on the show here momentarily, and we'll talk about plenty more ahead on this program. Again, we are looking at sectional games. We are to the Sweet 16 in men's and women's basketball. 8 teams in total will be left at the end of this weekend. Who will survive? Who won't survive? It's all for debate. And we can certainly talk about that here in the near future. We got lots of good guests on the show. We're going to hopefully interact with you all to make sure that we keep it. This is actually our last Thursday show is what I should be getting to. Next Thursday, we will not be on the air, as it'll be right before the championship games in Fort Wayne. We have traditionally, in the last few years, have gone away from our Thursday efforts. Certainly something we could revisit at some point, but we tend to, one, have a lot to do when we're in the championship weekend, and that is just an added thing to do on top of everything else we're doing. The other aspect is, especially when it's video, it's even more work. But we also end up saying a lot of things we end up saying on the shows Friday and Saturday ahead of the semifinals, especially on Friday. So we've been backing off. But if may revisit that this year after we see what the new site is like and whatnot. So heading to Fort Wayne on the men's side and heading to Salem on the women's side. We will actually hear from Fort Wayne later tonight. We hopefully will hear from Salem on Sunday, getting you ready for the Allen County War Memorial Coliseum, or Memorial Coliseum in short, in Fort Wayne. We'll hear from Nathan Dennison later in the program. Get you ready, get you understanding what's out there, how you can get a hold of tickets and whatnot, and we'll hopefully hear from those in Salem on the other side of the weekend as well. Lots to talk about as we look ahead to the tournament. The All-Star teams are also starting to take form. The men's All-Star game or All-Star vote came to a close for the last couple of spots left in the tournament, or in the game. Sorry, I'm reading about tournaments. And congratulations abounds, obviously. Pretty impressive for Rosenbaum and Cohen. I think it's how you say Cohen. Rosenbaum from Pomona Pitzer and Cohen from forgive me, my brain is just literally drawing a complete blank. The New England area. Come on, Cohen. I'll figure it out eventually. It's right here in front of me. I just can't seem to read it. There he is. Roger Williams, of course. So congratulations to Austin and Daniel. Just missing out was Michael Gardner at Johns Hopkins. He finished about 2,500 votes short of Austin. But nobody else really came close. Duac, surprisingly, out of Platteville, didn't get many votes. Calvin Songster from Maryville got very few votes. Tyler Steglin from Nazareth got a good push. Justin Sutton from Edgar Evers got a little bit of a push. I'm going to be disappointed. Ryan Bruns apparently won't be there. I think Bruns is a terrific player, but obviously Ohio Northern struggling hurt his chances. But congratulations on that. The women's vote is continuing through, I think, March 11th. If memory serves. That is Sunday, is it not? Oh, it's Monday. So we will see if maybe Sunday we'll talk a little bit more about the women's. But the women have actually already announced their all-star team. It is subject to change. I think it's a novel idea. Here's our team. We have backups and alternatives should any of these individuals still be playing in Salem. And so as a result, here's the team, and we'll let you know more later. Different structure on the women's side. I think you'll notice that. Different than the men. The men pick 2 out of each region. The women don't necessarily. There's actually 2 from the University of St. Thomas. Tommy's on the team. Granted, again, if they're not playing. So I'm fascinated by that. Certainly not knocking it. Each coach's group does it differently. The women, for example, have a 10-team first team for All-Americans. The men have an 8-team first team. We have a 5-team first team. So there's lots of different ways to do it. Lots of ways to skin a cat, as they say. But congratulations to the women's All-Stars. We will hear from hear who the final list is on Monday, and the men's list will be finalized roughly about Monday as well. And we'll find out who's playing in their All-Star game. And then Jostens Awards voting came to a close today. We'll find out the winner tomorrow, I believe, on the Jostens Awards. So a lot of awards coming to a close. All region teams, I believe, are announced, I believe, early next week. And obviously All-Americans will be announced before the championships on both the men's and women's side. So, yeah, lots to kind of wrap your mind around, as it were, in this time of year. On the men's side, let's talk about guests. We'll have John Taurer from the number 13th ranked St. Thomas men's basketball team on the show. We'll then get Dave Hixon on. Missed him on Sunday, and we're glad to get him on today. We'll get him on for the number 7th ranked Amherst men's team. As we mentioned, Nathan Dennison, VP for Sales for the Memorial Coliseum, will join us. Then we'll switch gears, talk women's basketball with Mark Moorfield, the number 12th ranked Mary Hardin Baylor women's coach, and then Carla Berube from the 4th ranked Tufts women's basketball program will join us. That's all ahead here on Hoopsville. If you want to interact with us, you can join us on Facebook at facebook.com/Hoopsville, where we're live streaming the show, or simulcasting the show is probably a better way of saying it. You can also email us, dave.mchugh@d3sports.com, or you can join us on Twitter at D3Hoopsville and hashtag Hoopsville. Keeping an eye out to see what's going on and all that. So one person, Timothy, says, this was a little while earlier today, said, good job with the yearly rankings, guys. If I counted right, 14 of the 16 remaining men's teams were ranked at the end of the year. Yeah. You know, for as much parity as we had, I am a little surprised that we have so many top-ranked teams left on the men's side. I thought we'd have some more sleepers, as it were. That said, I don't know if I can just lean on the top teams will get to Fort Wayne. I think we're going to have some deep seeds make it through. Who knows who they will be, but we'll see. Travel is always interesting on these weeks. There was a lot of talk, obviously, over the weekend about Whitman being selected to go to Hamilton in upstate New York, Clinton, New York, to be sure. And we aren't going to rehash that, though I've heard more feedback on that, which is unfortunate. Certainly not the easiest thing, to be blunt. We get that. But at the same time, you know, you got to make the most of it. So Whitman did make the most of it. Here's the video of their trip. We'll talk over it because it's an all music video. Not music, but there's just no audio track. So we'll talk over it as well. And their travels to Clinton, New York, located in upstate New York in the central part, started on Tuesday at 4:15. They had some media interviews at the gym, both radio, print, and television. They're looking at Coach Bridgeland doing countless number. Then they got on, they had a practice at Gonzaga, believe it or not, on Wednesday morning. So they spent the night in Spokane, had a practice at Gonzaga University in Spokane in the morning on Wednesday. That allowed them to then get to the airport for a flight out of Spokane in the early afternoon. And then they hopped, skipped, and jumped across the country, stopping in Minneapolis in the evening. Clearly, we can see who they flew with. And then Wednesday night, arriving at Syracuse at 12 o'clock Eastern Time. And then, of course, the trip's not over. From Syracuse to Clinton's probably about 2 hours. They've got a 1:33 slate there, indicating when they pulled into the Hampton Inn in Clinton, New York, as you see the team there. And so congratulations to them. And they made it, as they say. And that's how it is. Now, interesting enough, Whitman, I think, has used charters in the past. I got wind that charters were not an option this time around due to costs. But Whitman made it there safely. They will have a neutral site game in a real good doozy of a game, to be honest with you. I'm looking forward to that game at Hamilton. Of course, Hamilton... well, and I don't know what to make of it, to be honest with you. Every team at this point has got a chance to win, plain and simple. And every team's got a chance to lose, plain and simple. We just can't be assuming anything. But again, Whitman will take on Williams. Christopher Newport will take on Hamilton. So Whitman at least gets a neutral site game, and I don't think there's any guarantees that Hamilton wins that either. So, Whitman's in a good spot there, despite having to travel across the country. And I suspect, just a gut feeling like they did a couple years ago when they won things in Marietta, should they win, I suspect they'll stay on the East Coast and travel to Fort Wayne from there. So, anyway, that's their travel. And I know other teams had their travels. That's just the one we happen to spot online today. Again, if you got questions for us, interact with us. You can also interact with us on our pages, our YouTube and Ustream page, our YouTube and Facebook pages, or on let's see here, we've got our Periscope page. And some people interact with us on Periscope, so you're welcome to do it there as well. And we'll answer your questions best we can. In the meantime, in a moment here, we'll take a break and we'll talk to John Taurer from St. John's. Not only did they knock off the defending national champs Nebraska Wesleyan squad, but they're playing pretty good basketball. Though, I really would love to talk to him about what happened to the Tommies near the end of the season. Williams had a similar experience. Williams lost 4 of their last 5 before the NCAA tournament. St. Thomas, interestingly enough, lost 3 of their last 4 before the NCAA tournament. We'll talk to John Taurer about that bump in the road, as it were, and how the team's playing now after getting past La Crosse easily, and then Nebraska Wesleyan, somewhat easily. That's all ahead here on Hoopsville on a jam-packed show. Hope you're enjoying it, and you'll stay in touch with us. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com from the WBCA NABC Studios. Back with St. Thomas men's basketball when we come back.
Big shots. Big dunks. This trophy is not given. It must be earned. The 2019 NCAA Division III Men's Basketball Championship, March 15th and 16th at the Allen County War Memorial Coliseum Arena in Fort Wayne.
With his 3rd triple.
Visit ncaa.com/tickets and secure your seats today.
Football has taught me a lot throughout my life. It's definitely had a huge imprint on who I am as a person. Competing at a Division III level created that opportunity for me to go to college. Not only was I the first one in my family to graduate college, but I was really the first one to even go. Being the first one, I'm breaking that cycle, and now that I've graduated, I'm not sure what's the next step, but I know I have a lot of doors open. And a lot of those are open because I played football and ran track here at Otterbein.
For the love of the game. But for those of us who are Division III student athletes, it's more than that, a lot more.
Sure, the game is important, but as we work so hard to build both mind and body, it's more about team.
That is why NCAA Division III teamed up with Special Olympics, and in giving the gift of sport to those for whom it seemed an impossible dream, we are working to make this a better world.
Help us keep that dream alive.
You can make a difference.
I'm a Division III student athlete, and I know how powerful words can be. The term gay doesn't mean stupid, lame, or less than.
So I pledge to speak up if I hear the term gay used in a derogatory way or any other homophobic terms.
If you can play in Division III.
I'm a Division III student athlete, and my teammates unconditionally accepted me as part of their family. So now I pledge to do the same for others. If you can play in Division III.
We are the coaches of women's basketball. We are leaders and teachers, dreamers and winners. We are professionals who conduct ourselves ethically and with integrity. We place the education, safety, and well-being of the athletes we coach above all else and teach them the fundamental values they need to succeed in life. We are coaches united for the good of our game and those who play it. We are the WBCA.
Welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody, here on this Thursday, March the 7th, 2019, as we get ready for sectional round. Again, last Thursday show of the season. We will not be on the air next Thursday, and our wrap-up show most likely will not take place on a Thursday either. It's just the way it goes with us. Last Thursday show of the season, which seems appropriate because sometimes it's the first show of the year on Thursdays. All right, so talking men's basketball, the Tommies again knocked off Nebraska Wesleyan, the defending national champs, in the opening weekend in the second game, 70-58. Certainly a solid victory, but you know, it's been a weird season. They lost that first game to Brooklyn. They went on a run. We talked to John Taurer back in late November, or January, I should say, about how well the team was playing, and they continued to play well. Seemed like they were unstoppable, but then lost 3 of their last 4 games of the season. Got tripped up by Augsburg and St. John's, then beat St. Mary's in the conference tournament, but then lost to Augsburg in the semifinals. Of course, got back on that horse last week and are looking pretty good. What to make of the Tommies is the usual question we would have, and joining us on the Blue Frame Technology Hoopsville hotline is their head coach. And John, welcome back to the program this year.
Hey, thanks. Always great to be on with you, Dave, particularly at this time of the year.
Yeah, usually a good sign, right? Or maybe, well, who knows? It could mean a lot of things, but I appreciate you taking the time. Hey, listen, that 3 of 4 at the end, if I can't imagine there aren't any Tommy fans who are kind of looking at that with a raised eyebrow going, what just happened to our Tommies? They were trucking along there for a while, and then Augsburg and St. John's beat them, and St. John's beat you good, 94-75. And then Augsburg came back and got you in a very similar but flipped score from the last meeting. What happened in those 4 games that just seemed to derail you guys temporarily?
We just wanted to give you something to ask me about, Dave. Last time I was on, you were asking what happened when we lost to Brooklyn, and then to be quite honest, St. John's, I mean, we did not play our best, but St. John's and Augsburg are outstanding teams, and the MIAC is really tough, and I know every coach feels that way about their conference, but those were both NCAA teams last year, along with St. Olaf, and I thought St. John's was a top 5 team all year. They're incredible, and Pat does an outstanding job. I mean, they're really good, and we beat them the first time, and the second time was pretty close for 32 minutes, and they blew our doors off the last 8 minutes, and Augsburg, if you watch them play, I think Augsburg could play with just about anybody in the country. They have a kid who I think is a potential national player of the year in Booker Copeland. He had 46 in the MIAC finals, and they surround him with outstanding shooters and ball handlers. So I wasn't thrilled. None of us were with the way we were playing, or certainly the way we were defending. But at the same time, some of that is the ebbs and flows of a season that, losing 3 games to Augsburg and St. John's, lots of other teams did that too. And so we didn't trivialize it. We tried to look at it in a balanced way. And we did say, look, if we don't defend better than we are, our postseason run is going to be really short. We gave up for 20 games. I thought we were pretty good on defense. And my assistant coach, Mike Keating, runs our defense and does an outstanding job of it. And in the last 4 or 5 games, we were not as good. And we all talked about, look, at every one of us needs to be better on that end if we're going to go anywhere.
Yeah, I'm sure you told him his job was on the line. I get it. That's sometimes his motivation.
Mike's job's never on the line. Trust me. I'd be the one getting fired before Mike would.
No, I know. Oh, I know. Totally tongue in cheek. That said, Williams also had a weird skid to the end of the season, losing 4 out of 5. And I'll admit, going into that weekend of the tournament, I thought to myself, geez, that's the last thing you want to do going into March. You don't want to have the taste of losing in any way, shape, or form. And I know the psychology of the game and student athletes better than most, just from your educational background and what you do besides coaching. How do you flip the script, as it were? How do you get the mentality out of their heads that they did lose 3 of their last 4, but they can get right back into their winning ways?
Well, there is no magic bullet, or we'd all utilize it as a coach. I think being adaptable is one of the things we talk about within our program, and certainly we try to coach that way, offensively, defensively, how we recruit, but also how we deal with teams through the ups and downs of the year. And to give you an example, in 2016 we lost in the MIAC playoffs to St. Olaf and turned around and won the national title. In 2015 we won the MIAC playoffs and lost in the opening round, ranked 3rd in the country to Northwestern in Roseville. And so there's 2 examples where I don't know. I don't think that winning your conference playoff is as correlated with postseason success as some might. It's certainly correlated with getting there. That's the nice thing, is you do punch your ticket. But either way, sometimes if you're on a hot streak and you don't recalibrate going into the playoffs, all of a sudden a team can have that moment where they say, whoa, we were on a roll, and now we realize if we lose this game, our season's over. And so really we just, we talked about, look, all 64 teams are 0-0, and we need to defend better than we have the last 5 games. But we were also in the tournament for a reason, and I've loved coaching this group. They were, I think, a little underrated. We were picked 4th in our conference, and they have exceeded some expectations, and a lot of young guys and a lot of depth have. It's really been a pleasure to coach them.
You got a lot of different directions I can go with that. I want to talk about the youth in a minute, and maybe the expectations of the team because of it. But let's start with this past weekend, and you talked defense. It certainly seems like that was front and center. You held lacrosse to 66 points, and you held a very potent offense in Nebraska Wesleyan to 58 points. Nobody has done that, or at least gotten away with a win by doing that. What happened this weekend, and what was the magic, especially against the Prairie Wolves, to get past them in the second round?
Well, the short answer would be we put our hands in the air and hope they missed. And our kids played really tough on defense. Dale has, I think, one of the more incredible squads. I mean, before we played them, I had people around the country say it's as good a Division III team as they've seen. And looking at their numbers and watching them, it would be hard to argue with that. And so we felt like, I mean, looking at the draw, it's always tough. Our region playing lacrosse, a second-place team in the WIAC in the opening round is one of the tougher, at least on paper, one of the tougher games around the country in that first round. And I thought, they're a very tough program. Kent runs he does an excellent job with his team. And I thought our kids played tough that round. And then in Nebraska, we got up early. We got up 10 early, and then we didn't score for about 10 minutes. Literally didn't score a point for 10 minutes. So I'm the guy that runs the offense. Mike runs the defense. So you can tell who was on the hot seat at that point. When we went from up 37-30 to down 45-37. Yeah. But I thought our kids were, in a tough environment, they embraced that challenge. And, defense, there's no rocket science to it. I mean, I'll be honest, they did miss some shots that I'm sure they normally make. But I also thought our kids competed and played really hard for 40 minutes. And so, yeah, I'd love to give you a great answer, but I think a lot of it was our kids just took great pride in playing together and playing tough.
33-20 was a second-half score. I mean, so both sides were working defense, holding that team to 1 point a minute in the second half, and then your offense at least outscoring them by 13. Everything came together in that second half. At what point did you feel comfortable enough to realize, yeah, we're going to win this thing?
Probably with about 15 seconds left, maybe 30. Okay. I mean, seriously, we got up 15 or 17, but, and we score 85 a game for the year,
right?
Which is the most we've ever scored. Nebraska blows that out of the water. I think they're at like 92 or something. And so, when you're up 15 or 17 on them, that feels more like 6 or 7 points, and they're going to make a run. And they did. They cut it to 9 and got the ball, and block charge call. We got a charge, and that kind of steadied the ship a little bit. But no, you don't. I mean, but you don't ever feel safe in those games until the buzzer sounds. And that's what we preach to our kids: play to the whistle, play to the final buzzer. And it was one of those special wins, though, because rarely do you get a chance to go on the road to the number one team in the country, who's also the defending national champs and a program we have so much respect for, and just get a chance to play against them. And we didn't know what the outcome would be. I don't think many people in Vegas were probably picking us, but I don't know that Vegas picks any of these 3 games. But I thought our kids looked at that as an opportunity that they were going to make the most of, and they certainly did.
You've got Guilford ahead of you. Not exactly a team you would have a ton of familiarity with, being that they're out of the ODAC, and you don't play a ton of ODAC schools normally. You're obviously playing this game in Oshkosh. How have you guys been preparing for Palumbo's squad?
Yeah, well, he does a very good job. I mean, you can look historically what their teams have been like. Statistically, you look at their numbers, and they are downright scary. I mean, rebounding-wise, they're one of the top teams in the country. Field goal percent defense, 3-point percent defense. I mean, really, it doesn't look like a fun team to prepare for because, you talk about some teams being like going to the dentist. They look like it's going to the dentist because it's just you're impressed with how they play, but they're very tough. They get after you on both ends. They've got 4 guys averaging in double figures, so they've got a really, really well balanced squad that defends, rebounds, shares the ball. So it's I don't know if that's the scouting report you're looking for, because it makes it sound like we're we're big underdogs, but I look at their team, and it's a fun team to watch because you can tell they really understand their roles and they embrace them. You can tell that they're well coached, and they obviously play in a great conference. And, there's a reason everybody's in the Sweet 16 at this point. It's hard to win games in March. Mm-hmm. It's hard to win games in the tournament. And, so we're excited to play them, but we've watched a lot of film. But until you see somebody up close, we've tried to prepare our guys for what it's going to be like to rebound and try and run offense against an outstanding team.
You talked about, maybe underappreciated this season, and I'm using those terms. And I think it has a lot to do with not knowing what you had coming in. I mean, I don't know if anybody appreciated your freshman in Anders Nelson scoring 14 points a game while handing out 4.5 assists a game and getting 2 steals a game while also being the team's leading rebounder at 5.5. And you got sophomores in Lindbergh and Hedstrom who also contributed. It feels like you got some pieces to come together this year that maybe were a year ahead of it, and that's awesome. But tell me a little bit about this youth movement and the likes of Nelson and the rest.
Well, Anders gets a lot of attention, as he should. Frighteningly, he leads us in rebounding as about a 5'10" point guard, and so that I don't know. Guilford may be looking at that and thinking, "Boy, this is not going to be very challenging inside." But our kids, I think, have bought into number one, our senior leaders, Connor Baer and G.T. Johnson and Michael Hannon. They were freshmen on the national championship team, and they didn't play, but they went through that, and so they saw how hard it is to make a run in the playoffs. And they saw, some of the intangible and tangible things that you need to happen. And I think that's been big. But our freshmen and sophomores, and probably as much as that, our depth has been really valuable. Anders has stepped in seamlessly at point guard, but if you watch our Nebraska game, he sat on the bench and Connor Baer was on the bench for about 10 minutes during that run in the second half. And we had 4 reserves in, and Riley Miller, another freshman point guard, was playing, and Connor and Anders were cheering like crazy for those guys, and it was just, they were rolling, and we kept going with them. And so I think, not just kind of a youth movement, but a depth movement where we play 10 guys every game. And, we don't really talk about starters. We just say, look, we're going to fly around and have some fun. And I think that more than anything, coming into the year, coming off of last year, we didn't know exactly what we'd have, but I do think everybody who returned got a little bit better. And obviously we have some young guys who are playing an important role.
Can't let you go without talking about that youth a little bit and having a little fun with you. It seems like you have a bit of an out-of-the-box recruiting style. Let's see, you go to a perennial hockey and tennis power, and you find Anders Nelson at that high school. You go to a football powerhouse, and you pull out some guys like Connor Baer and Ryan Lindbergh. You go to all these powers in other sports than basketball, and you seem to find these basketball studs. I mean, that's at least from the absolutely trustworthy information that I have been gathered. You're having a little fun in the recruiting realm, are you not?
Well, Gene McGivern, our SID, he's able to put together stories, whether they're embellished or not. Gene, if you read his Tuesday blog, it's one of the more entertaining pieces in Division III sports. And I think recruiting-wise, it's interesting that in 2016, our national title team, 18 of the 19 guys were from Minnesota. And this year, a lot of our top guys are from Minnesota, but a lot of our young guys who aren't playing yet but have a chance to be great players are, we got guys from Iowa, from Illinois, from Wisconsin. And so it's our recruiting has changed over the last 3 or 4 years for a lot of different reasons. And you know how complicated Division III, looking at the multitude of factors that there are, trying to pinpoint who are the right people and who fit your university. So, we're willing to go just about anywhere within our budget, which, as you know, those aren't always as sizable in Division III. But I do think St. Thomas draws from an eclectic mix of schools where kids around the country and certainly the region look at it as a great place to play basketball and get a great education and get ready for your next steps in life.
Well, it's always a blast to chat with you. I know you got to get going. I just love chatting about the team and what you guys are doing. I just want to point out, though, that the bulletin board material from this interview did not come from me. It came from you, indicating that you guys are an overwhelming underdog against Guilford.
Well, I go into every game. Most coaches are paranoid. I go into every game thinking we're a huge underdog, and there's something to be said for that in life, right? There's lots of psychological theories on it that you could probably psychoanalyze me with, Dave. But more than anything, you got to get up every day and work hard. And the moment you start thinking we're entitled to anything, that's the day I think our program won't be very good. And I would certainly walk away if I started acting or thinking that way. I think our guys compete every day, and it's one of the reasons that I love working with them is they're unselfish and they play tough defense and they cheer for one another whether they're in the game or not. And it's made for a really fun season, and certainly a joy to coach.
Well, congratulations on the second weekend berth and the win over the defending champs. Looking forward to seeing what you do against Guilford, and if lucky enough, what you do in that next round. And we'll look forward to talking to you somewhere down the road. As always, you give the coach the final word. Any final thoughts you want to say to those who may be tuned in?
Hey, thanks to all the St. Thomas fans around the state, the region, and just we have a small but very vocal group in Nebraska, and we're so appreciative of them supporting the team and what you do for D3 Hoops, Dave. I say it all the time, but it gets undersaid still that it's a special time of year. But these student athletes and even the ones who are not still competing, it really embodies and epitomizes what I think we hope our young people in our world are doing to grow and develop and be our next leaders. So we appreciate everything you do, and it should be a fun weekend of basketball.
Well, it will be a fun weekend. Thanks for the kind words. Good luck. Enjoy it, and we'll talk to you down the road.
Thanks a lot, Dave.
Absolutely. John Taurer joining us on the Blue Frame Technology Hoops.
Being a part of the different activities and organizations that I've been a part of, I'm actually able to see myself where I'm like, hey, I actually can make a change. I'm one person that can make a difference.
Division III has helped me to develop teamwork skills, critical thinking skills, time management skills.
It's not just about basketball, or it's not just about school, it's about developing yourself as a person altogether.
Welcome to the University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire, home of Blue Gold Athletics. UW-Eau Claire has been ranked a top 5 regional public university for over 20 years. We graduate champions with the lowest debt and highest return on investment in the Midwest. Blue Gold Athletics is a Directors Cup Top 20 Division III program offering 22 sports with almost 700 student athletes. UW-Eau Claire is about excellence in the classroom, the field of competition, and the community. Are you the next Blue Gold?
My name is Marcus Walker. I was All-State, won a state championship, a high school All-American, and played college and pro ball. I played because I love the game. I grind to be the best. I sweat because I put in work. I'm strong because I believe. When I want to bring it before game time, I come to the house that college basketball built, the CBE. No matter your skill, take it to another level. Elevate your game right here at the College Basketball Experience at Sprint Center.
Big shots. Teamwork. This trophy is not given. It must be earned. The 2019 NCAA Division III Women's Basketball Championship, March 15th and 16th at the Krager Center in Salem.
Bounces right back with a triple. Great job here. And that'll do it!
Visit ncaa.com/tickets and get your tickets today.
Now joining us on the Well, not joining us. You are all joining us back on the show here on this Thursday evening. If you got questions for us, you can always email us, dave.mchugh@d3sports.com. Join us on Facebook at facebook.com/Hoopsville. We're live streaming the show on the simulcast. Of course, Robert has found us on YouTube, says, go Augie beat Wheaton. That's going to be a dandy of a game in the CCIW rematch between those two squads. Looking forward to seeing how that plays out. Of course, the NESCAC still has a few teams in play. They've got Williams and Hamilton. I mentioned earlier how Amherst would do and at Hamilton. Obviously, Amherst is at home. Misspoke there, but I got all my NESCAC teams all confused. So two teams with the potential of facing with a chance to go to Fort Wayne and one on its own. And no matter what, there will only be one NESCAC who could possibly make the championship game. Could it be Amherst? Playing really well at this point in the season, and I think for a lot of people, they came on a little bit as a surprise. Not that we don't expect Dave Hixon to put a good squad together, but they kind of were flying on the radar behind Williams and Hamilton much of the season. Kind of stormed in, took over, ended up winning the NESCAC automatic bid with a revenge win over Hamilton. What to make of the Mammoths, though? Can they win it all? Well, joining us on the Blue Frame Technology Hoopsville hotline is our head coach, Dave Hixon, to give us all the answers. I am sure, Dave, you have figured these out yourself, correct?
I have. Good to be here.
You know, I'm glad we finally got you on here. At 25-4 on the season, you guys finished 7-3 in conference. When you start to look through things, I think, granted, the losses to Wesleyan and Colby in middle to late January maybe gave everybody pause. But outside of that, there isn't a bad loss on the resume. You've got some strong wins. What is it about this team that was different than I think a lot of people anticipated?
Well, it's interesting, and I think that I wasn't sure. I mean, the expression I used early on, I saw some things, and I told a bunch of different people. They said, "How are you going to be?" And I said, I think we might be pretty good. I don't know, but whatever you do, don't sleep on us. And that was sort of my expression for most of the year was don't sleep on us yet, And this is an interesting group of kids. They're young. We do have two senior centers that play off each other, but it's a young group of kids. But they're resilient. They're incredibly tough-minded down the stretch. I mean, I think in the road games that we've won, that really stands out, whether it's, Hamilton in the championship game, Williams at Hamilton, Eastern Connecticut, who I think is a very good team. We had some outstanding road wins, and just really tough-minded kids. We'll get ahead a little bit, 4 or 5 points. Somebody will bring it back to even. We'll go back ahead, and we did the same thing with I thought a really good and senior-laden Rochester team at their place to get where we are now, and so. Just tough-minded kids that find a way to win, and they sort of surprise me. They make me smile. It's a terrific thing.
Yeah, the wins at Lafrac are important, obviously, for good reason. Unfortunately, Colby's the one who tripped you up at home, and Babson got you as well. But it is those wins on the road. Hamilton, you point out, of course, you had lost to them at their place not that long before that win. It feels like you guys know each other darn well. You're almost probably glad you aren't in their pod this weekend.
Well, that's for sure. I mean, I think the same with Williams. I mean, we've played Williams 3 times now, and we've played Wesleyan 3 times. And, that's one of the things that happens is that, we've played 4 times before. And it's you hope it doesn't happen with teams that you end up playing 4 times. The beautiful thing about the NCAA is now we get to play teams that we haven't played. And I hope that continues on as long as it can, naturally. But, hey, as long as I can keep playing, I'll play anybody.
Sure. That's the key of this part. It doesn't matter who you're playing as long as you're still playing.
Right.
Let's talk about the weekend. Rosemont, an easier game, though they kind of gave you a game until about midway through the third quarter before you guys put your foot down. But that game against Rochester was a dandy. Of course, being played at their place because the women had their hosting rights at Amherst. That game against Luke Flukertz, I think he knows you. Maybe some assistant coach of yours in the past or something along those lines. But is that a part of it at this point, that just because he's been a coach under you, he's going to be able to prepare his team as well? Or is it because of the players everybody has now and that relationship isn't really part of the equation anymore?
Yeah, I'm not really sure what the answer to that is, but I'll tell you this, that, we run a lot of similar stuff. I was half joking when I said in the press conference after that we run a lot of the same stuff, but his team ran it better. And he's a terrific coach. Some of the stuff that he's doing now and that we do, we sort of put together during his time with me. And it's fun. And I always hate to coach against my old guys because somebody has to lose. But he's such a wonderful guy and a good coach. And, naturally, as much as we wanted to beat them, I think they had 6 seniors. They started 4 seniors. And, again, well-coached, great season. And I hated to be the guy to put an end to it, but it was one of us, right?
Yeah, that's true. It had to come to an end at some point. Of course, right. At their place, one of the great places of basketball, along with LaFrac. Now you come home. Now you get to enjoy LaFrac for your own good, but you've got Nichols ahead of you. This is a tough team, with not just because Marcus Echeverria can score at will at times, but also because he can get his team to score at will at times. What do you see in the Bison? A team that you're not all that familiar with. I went and looked. You guys haven't played in about 4 or 5 seasons, meaning before Marcus came on board. This is a different program now.
Right, big time. Yeah, no, I'll tell you what, they've got 2 and maybe even a third because, the third guard, Tenaglia, he's a different sort of guard. He's an in-your-face, quick kid who does really good things from, creates for everybody else, can shoot the 3 a little bit. But the two lead guards are just they're as good as there is in Division III, and they're quick. They can both shoot. I'm looking at Echeverria, and we're playing somebody that had 186 3-point attempts, and I thought, wow, that's a high volume. I look at him; he's 307, and that's beyond what I can even think about. 300 and shooting 38% doing it.
Yeah.
And the other kid's good too. And so the quickness, that's, we got to figure out what we can do. Our defense, I'll tell you this, that our defense has been our key. I mean, we've done everything off our defense this year. It's not like we steal balls and go places. We just don't give people good opportunities. And, this is going to be a real test for us because of their quickness and their ability to pull almost anywhere. Echeverria will pull almost anywhere. So I'm looking forward to it. And my guys looking forward to it. We've worked hard this week, and but you got to get out and guard really talented kids, and that's hard.
Talking to Bobby Hughes ahead of the game that he had at Rosemount with you guys, he talked about your team and no one gets easy looks inside because your defensive pressure inside, or presence maybe is a better way of saying it, just doesn't allow for any easy looks. And also talked about he hasn't seen a team that does that well efficiently on offense in a lot of places. Is that stuff you guys pride on? Is that stuff? I mean, I've seen you guys. I feel like I've seen different systems from you over the years. You don't tend to stick to the same thing all the time because it depends on the talent. So is this something, this execution and defensive mentality on the inside, is that just what this program has become?
Yeah, well, I tell you, so, you have seen a lot of different things over the years, and I like that. I mean, that's one of the things I like about coaching the game is that you change a little bit. The game changes. But what we did this year, we inherited some quickness over the past couple of years. We inherited a couple really good defensive players. Fuche, is 6'5", 6'6", and can really defend, has defended the best players all year. Devin Allen is just super quick and does a great job defending. Grant Robinson up front has got some quickness and can defend. But then when it all breaks down, we get Joe, Joe in the back. And Big Joe, 6'10", he's got 7'4" wingspan, and he blocks a lot of shots, and he changes a lot of shots, more importantly. And, sometimes he's an adventure on offense. But I'll tell you what, defensively, they get a half a step on us. We know Joe's there, Joe Schneider, and just and Eric Salou's no slouch either. And we bring in pretty good defenders off the bench with quickness. Garrett Day is a really quick, hard-nosed defender. And so we've got some good kids, and they wanted to play defense. You could see it. And so we've worked extra hard on defense this year. We've done a few different wrinkles, and it's worked.
Schneider and Bachman, your 2 centers, are obviously the seniors. I've got some bad news, though, for everybody because the top 4 scorers on this team all return. and a sophomore in Robinson, a sophomore in Che, a junior in Salou, and a sophomore in Day at 16, 11.5, 11, and 8 points a game, respectively. 4.9, 4.8, 4.7, 8.1 rebounds for those first three. This is a team that's building. I mean, and to be honest, and maybe that's what everybody didn't expect out of this season, and a little bit of what we were talking with John Taurer just beforehand, was the youth stepping up and the underclassmen stepping up into positions here, Dave. This seems to be what is the key to this season, as you've talked about, but it's also a great key for the future seasons.
Yeah, no, and I think that is true. I do think this, that, as I look forward, to the next year, when people talk about the next year and thoughts like that, Joe, again, and CJ's good too. CJ's more of a positional defender, but Joe is a shot changer inside. Like, he might only average 2 blocks a game, but I got to tell you that he probably changes 6 or 7 shots a game. I don't think there's anybody else in our league that can play, the Williams big kid. And Joe, he struggles against Joe, and Joe is a big presence in there. He doesn't average maybe the rebounds that we all think he should. He doesn't score the points we wish he would, but I'll tell you what, he changes the game entirely. And so I think when we lose Joe, I think that we've got to add something for that 4 to be as good as people are starting to say they might be.
Earlier this year, back in January, you lost your mother, and our condolences to you. I know I said that to you off air at one point. Aaron Toomey was given the reins for the game against Williams. He came out with a win. 2 games later, you guys lost to Colby. I believe you were back on the bench. Was there a little bit of a worry there could have been a coup and Toomey would take over the program?
Well, I started telling the story about, when I forget the guy's name now, but he took the day off with a migraine headache, and this guy named Lou Gehrig stepped in, and he didn't step out again for like 2,400 games. So, yeah, we were laughing about that.
Obviously, Toomey, did you let Toomey know, I should say, that he did not get the win? That still goes on your record, I believe, is how that works?
Well, actually, I was putting an asterisk on it already.
So you're not taking credit for the win over Williams back then, but you'll take the win over Williams in the conference semifinals, I am quite sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you, at this point, Dave, what do you look forward to the most? And how are you able to keep Amherst at the top of the heap, as it were, even after, seasons like the last 2 were only 17-win seasons? What are you enjoying about it still in who knows what year it is now for you coaching? And how do you keep this program at such a level?
Yeah, and I don't really, I'm not sure I can give you the answer to the second part, other than, we take a lot of pride in what we do. We work hard every day. We have a lot of fun doing it. But in particular, this group is just a great group of kids to coach. I mean, this is a type of team that, I could coach for 10 more years. It's just this is just such a great group of kids. They got humor, they've got drive, they've got all the intangibles, and we think on the same lines. It's sort of been an incredible journey for me this year. And I have to tell you something, that when I did lose my mom, this group was probably as mature a young group as you could even imagine, in the way that they handled helping me through that time. And I don't have words really to thank them for what they did for me during that time. And but their maturity and all, and the way they did it was just off the charts. And they had a chance to send my mom. They understood that she missed a game because she wasn't feeling well and couldn't get it up on the computer. And right toward the end of her life, and she was still trying to watch every game. And they did a video thing and said they loved her. And Mrs. Hixon, here's some highlights because we know you missed it, and we love you, sort of thing. And unbelievable things. I mean, these kids, they're a special group, and love coaching them. But, how we stay on top, I just think really it's, we've got a program, not just a team, and the program sort of continues on. And our alums are a big part of it. They reach out to the team. They talk to the team. And we work hard, but we enjoy working hard. So
sure.
we've been fortunate, and we've been fortunate.
Not that you're looking too far ahead, but you got Swarthmore and Randolph-Macon, 2 behemoths sitting on the other side of that pod. up there in Amherst. Can this team get to the championship weekend? How tough is this weekend going to be first?
Yeah, well, I think this weekend, as I said to my guys 2 days ago, I said, guys, some of the toughest games that we've won and some of the toughest games we've played have been in this weekend, not the championship weekend, but this weekend. And I think that's true. I mean, we went up to Brandeis, up to Plattsburgh, and beat a great Brandeis team up there in the knockdown, drag-out fight. And in an Elite Eight game, we upset Tufts here, and they had us basically on the Olsen shot to move on. And so this weekend is always, I think this weekend's the toughest of the weekends. And those two on the other side are very, very good teams. But I think the two on our side are good teams too. And I think that, you know, the ball's got to go in the basket. You've got to have some good fortune. And, you know, I think I honestly think anybody could come out of this pod. And, but
yeah,
you'll come out, you will have done your work. If you come out, you will have done some work.
Yeah, that's true. You'll be battle tested. I looked it up just to confirm. You're in your 42nd year of coaching. I believe I was 2 when you took over. I'm not trying to date neither of us. I just wanted to feel young for a change.
I can't believe I didn't recruit you. I can't believe I didn't recruit you.
Especially out of a school that visited your campus. Anyway, I kid. I appreciate your time. I could talk to you forever. Hopefully we get to catch up with you in Salem, though nothing against Nichols, Swarthmore, F&M.
What are we going to do in Salem?
That's Salem. You're right. See, old habits. Fort Wayne. Good call, sir. Good call. Maybe we're both watching the women's program.
I miss Salem, though. I miss Salem, too, though. You know, those boys treated me so well down there. I was fortunate enough to get down there a few times, but those guys became like family to me. And but a new place, we all move on, right?
Yep. Good point. We'll look forward to it. Thanks for the time. As always, though, we give the coach the final word. Any final thoughts you want to share? Those tuned in.
I really appreciate you having me on, and I knew we weren't, you know, sort of the name early on. I'm glad we've gotten to the point where you'd have me on, and and I really do look forward. I hope I do get a chance to talk with you out in Indy. That would be an awesome thing.
Well, come out anyway. No, if you bring your team, that's even better, as they say.
Even better.
Yeah, awesome. Dave, take care of yourself. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, man. Bye.
Dave Hixon joining us here on the Blue Frame Technology Hoopsville hotline. Of course, if you would like to upgrade your web streaming capabilities, maybe your production capabilities, Blue Frame, I'll get it right. Blue Frame is who you want to talk to. They've got not only award-winning production software in their production truck software, but they also have great streaming also. Log on at blueframetech.com. That's blueframetech.com, and tell them I sent you. We'll get the official readout to you a little bit later. Again, they've got Nichols ahead of them, and then it's either going to be Swarthmore or Randolph-Macon. Some really good games on the other side for Amherst at 25-4, but across the pod as well. Speaking of Fort Wayne, coming up next, we talk to the VP of Sales, Nathan Dennison, about what's coming up at Fort Wayne and why you may want to be there. Plenty of ticket information, attraction information, you name it, we've got it covered. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com from the WBCA NABC Studios. More about Fort Wayne and then women's basketball on the other side of that when we come back.
We are the coaches of women's basketball. We are leaders and teachers, dreamers and winners. We are professionals who conduct ourselves ethically and with integrity. We place the education, safety, and well-being of the athletes we coach above all else and teach them the fundamental values they need to succeed in life. We are coaches united for the good of our game and those who play it. We are the WBCA.
Great moments are born from great opportunity. That's what you have here tonight. That's what you've earned here tonight. This is your time. Now go out there and take it.
It's on us. It's on all of us. And it's time to act now.
It's on us to start the change. It's on us to be the change. It's on us. It's on Division III. It's on all of us to stop sexual assault.
big shots. Teamwork. This trophy is not given. It must be earned. The 2019 NCAA Division III Women's Basketball Championship, March 15th and 16th at the Krager Center in Salem.
Bounces right back with a triple. Great job here. And that'll do it!
Visit ncaa.com/tickets and get your tickets today.
It starts right when you hit the court. You imagine your finest moment. The game-winning shot that gets you to the dance, a monster dunk or no-look pass, and cutting down the net. Sports lets us dream of our own success and prepare us for our finest moments on and off the court.
Welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody. We are headed to a new home in Division III men's basketball. So is women. They're heading to Salem, Virginia, and we hope on Sunday to be able to catch up with those at the city of Salem to talk about what is ahead on the women's side in a new venue. We may add, too. They're not going to the Civic Center. They're going to the Crenshaw Gymnasium on the campus of Roanoke College. We'll look forward to talking about that on Sunday. In the meantime, the men are headed to Fort Wayne. We've been waiting for this about 2 years now after the announcement was made. What to make of it all, as it were. What should we see? I'm really interested in seeing how this all comes together, but we all need information. Even we need information. Not all of us have been able to visit as of yet. So earlier today, I got a chance to catch up with the head of sales for the Allen County Memorial Coliseum in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Nathan Dennison joined us to talk about what you can expect, what we can expect, and what they're expecting from the entire weekend. Now joining us on the Blue Frame Technology Hoopsville hotline, it's the VP of Sales for Memorial Coliseum, and is Nathan Dennison. Sir, thanks for taking the time to join us.
You are welcome, Dave. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Obviously, you guys have been building towards this for, roughly what, about 2 years now, I want to say, off the top of my head? Is that about the right timing?
Well, the last bid cycle really started in 2016.
Sure.
So when we submitted the bids, we heard what we were able to get in the spring of 2017, and obviously we started planning then. But our, in earnest, we really started planning when we attended the event in Salem last year, and that was such a great opportunity for three of us from here in Fort Wayne to attend that event and see what a fantastic job Kerry and his team has done for a long time.
You guys tore that building apart. I had a direct comparison from a few months earlier of what Shenandoah's team had done for the Stag Bowl, and the differences were night and day. Every time I turned around, at least on Thursday during all the setup, but especially on other days during that event, you guys were in some other nook or cranny that I didn't even know existed in that building. You guys really kind of rolled up your sleeves to some degree.
Well, we weren't going to go into this blind without as much background information as we could have. So that was really our goal in that trip, is to, we attended the administrative meetings with the coaches and the SIDs. We, sat with the committee. We just tried to soak in as much as we possibly could that weekend, just to learn a little bit about the history, so we would have a base of understanding to really put together the event how it's supposed to be.
I know you don't necessarily, obviously from what you guys did, you didn't necessarily come in with any assumptions,
No.
though everybody does have those whenever they do any kind of event. But at the same token, and without getting too in the weeds, I am curious when you guys got back, or what in the last year did you kind of change or add or think to yourself, you know what, let's go with something different based on what you learned?
Well, we just wanted to put a Fort Wayne spin on it.
Sure.
It's a different community, so we want to just kind of put our own unique spin to it. The players are going to stay in 2 downtown hotels that, are surrounded by, restaurants, and hopefully the fans and, people from their schools will come and, enjoying them at, a very nice downtown experience. So we just really wanted to put our Fort Wayne spin on it. Not change too much, obviously, but working with Alex Mortellero at the NCAA has been a great process. We've all learned together a little bit in this new world of bringing this event to Fort Wayne. So it's been a really, really good process so far.
You guys have also updated this arena multiple times. I certainly couldn't go into the history myself, but most recently you guys put in some new ribbon boards and other things. You guys have really, and obviously we should point out, this isn't just used for this event. It's obviously very busy. You guys have semi-professional or even professional teams in there. There's reasons to be updating these things, but were any of the updates in mind of trying to do this and other championships?
Well, yeah. It really was all part of the process. The arena was built originally in 1952, so it's been around a while. But a major expansion and renovation that happened in 2002 kind of really put the building at a whole new level. We do host a minor league hockey franchise. We host an NBA G League team, an affiliate of the Pacers.
Yes.
We also host some games from Purdue Fort Wayne Division I men's basketball, along with concerts and family shows and all sorts of things. So, it's a busy building, but the renovations and upgrades in our technology that happened most recently last summer, it's a new high-definition, four-sided center-hung scoreboard with full video capabilities. Our crew is going to do the in-house production of all 4 games next weekend to be on the scoreboard. So it's a 6-millimeter LED board. So the folks from the venues there in D3 schools will understand what that means.
Yeah.
It's a really good presentation. Ribbon boards with stats on them. I hope fans will really appreciate all the technology that goes into the arena. But yeah, it's a constant process of updating and renovating and maintaining what we have so that people want to come back to events.
Sure.
Year after year after year.
I assume you guys at this point are just sitting back and waiting for the teams, right? You're all done. You're ready to go.
Yeah. Well, the inside of my cubicle looks like a warehouse. We have several storage areas here in the building, and I will say all of them are full with boxes that have been coming in. I'm keeping our security department really busy logging all these shipments coming in. But it's so much fun, opening up the chairs and the bench towels and all of that sort of stuff. It's a lot of work, but it's so much fun at the same time. And it really reminds me when I see the winners' hats and, the winners' T-shirts. Yeah. It reminds me what this event is all about.
Yeah.
It's about creating that championship experience for the athletes.
Sure. Obviously, we want to know, fans are going to want to know what to expect when they come to Fort Wayne.
Sure.
Let's start with just the schedule of events, obviously things that we can easily post elsewhere, but just give everybody a sense of what's going to be happening that people are obviously going to want to know about.
Yeah. So, obviously the teams come into town on Wednesday night. On Thursday morning, in addition to the practice schedule, our friends at Visit Fort Wayne have put together community service opportunities for the players. So the players are going to be going to some local elementary schools and reading to the kids on Thursday morning.
Cool.
Of course, Thursday night we'll have a welcome banquet that's going to be here at the venue. And we'll get them back to their rooms in time to get a good night's sleep for Friday. And, of course, practices Friday morning. And then the doors will open to the arena at 5 p.m. Our ticket office is right in our lobby. We're a multi-purpose venue. We actually have lots of other spaces, attached as a part of the venue. But if you come in the entrance that says arena, outside the doors, it's pretty easy to tell. The ticket office is in the lobby. Doors will open at 5 p.m. First semifinal tips off at 6, and then, of course, the second semifinal 30 minutes afterwards. So we're going to involve lots of Manchester University students who will be doing some fun things during the timeouts and the breaks in the games. We're excited about that. And then, of course, on Saturday, the advancing teams will have their closed practice. The arena doors will open at 3:30 p.m., and then the NABC Reese's All-Star Game is going to tip off a little bit before 4:30. So we're excited to have them. Pat and Charlie and the team at the NABC have been great to work with on planning this event. And then, of course, the championship game at 7 p.m. Both days are ticketed as one session each day, just like it was in the past. So folks can buy a Friday only, they can buy a Saturday only, and they can buy an all session. So we try to make it really easy. Our ticket office will be open from 10 a.m. on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Very easy to get in and out of here in our lobby. One thing I do want to make sure to tell the listeners, especially who are coming, we do have a parking lot that charges a parking fee, and it's $6 per car. So that's a good thing to keep in mind when you come. And the booths accept cash only. So that's one thing I want to make sure people know, that it's a cash-only operation, so $6 for parking for each session. So
I might set up a stand to exchange people for money. I might charge a little extra. That might be able to cover some of my costs. Very good. I like it. So $10 through me, so you can go in for $6. How's that work?
I didn't hear that. I didn't hear that.
Yeah, like I've got any time to pull that off. It's going to be a little chillier than we're used to in Salem. Obviously, we don't know the weather a week in advance, but you guys know how to handle any weather that comes your way, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, yeah. Here in Indiana, we're used to just about anything that Mother Nature can send our way. Our parking lot is 5,000 parking spaces strong. I think we'll have plenty of capacity. It's not going to be a problem.
Very nice. Listen, there's obviously people come to town. There's lots to time to kill, to be blunt. Doors open at 5, as you mentioned on Friday. They're going to open a little earlier, obviously on Saturday before the All-Star game, but some people might still be killing time for the championship. There's time to kill, and hanging out in a hotel room is only so exciting. What else is there to do in the town? We aren't familiar with Fort Wayne as much. What is there for people to do, or things they can do, or ways to kill time?
So I will tell you, Fort Wayne has a great microbrewery scene. No, you're going to be busy, Dave. You're going to be
Darn
busy.
it!
There are several small microbreweries around the downtown area. Around town, there's a couple wineries north of Fort Wayne. All of that information it's very easy to find at visitfortwayne.com. You can even find the hotel information when you're coming into town. You can find things to do. Visit Fort Wayne is the place to be when it comes to finding information. So visitfortwayne.com is the place. But we have a great microbrewery scene, some local wineries. One thing that might be of interest to some folks is our public library downtown has one of the largest collections of genealogy databases and information in the country. So they are great with customer service, coming in and answering some questions. So if you're in town and you have some time to kill Saturday and you're interested in that kind of stuff, our downtown library really is a great resource for family history information. So
interesting.
That's something that's unique that you don't find everywhere, certainly. So
yeah, I'm going to have to tell the family per that microbrewery stuff, I'm not going to be home on Sunday. I'm going to have to spend a few extra days.
Yeah. Visit fortwayne.com. You'll find all the information about hotels and restaurants and things to do and attractions. And if you're here with the kids, there are laser tag places in town. There are trampolines, sky zones places. So there's lots of things to do for the family, for sure.
Well, it's obviously different. We're all used to Salem, and then that's not a knock on you guys. It's been 23 years, and it's just become part of the fabric. But it feels like you guys have understood that fabric and not try to replicate it, certainly. You got to put your own twist on it, and that is certainly understandable. But what should we just understand coming in that obviously we throw Salem out the door. We don't want to have you guys graded against them. But what should we understand about what you guys are trying to do to best appreciate these championships? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. We've done a lot of work behind the scenes to try to create a really exciting fan atmosphere. So as guests come into the arena, they may be given a rally towel, or they may be given some other stuff to kind of boost that fan engagement, that fan experience stuff. As they leave the venue each day, they might be handed another gift from one of the NCAA's corporate partners. So I won't give out too much information about that, but that's really what we try to do. We're going to try to make it a very, very fan-friendly atmosphere. Like I said, we're excited about using and working with Manchester University's sport management students to do some fun in-game promotion, contesting, things like that. So it's a memorable experience not only for the players and the coaches who participate, but we want it to be very memorable for the fans, not only who are coming into Fort Wayne for this, but also for the basketball fans who are in Fort Wayne and have seen our pre-promotion of the event, and they've bought tickets and they want to come. And so we want to try to make them feel like this is a really big deal, so they want to come back the next 3 years for sure.
Wonderful. I guess I'll be leaving the arena a little early just to see if I can snag a little gift. That'd be fun. I mean, anything for a story.
Sure.
Appreciate the time. I know you guys have been working hard on this, and there's a lot we could certainly talk about, but at the same time, I want everybody to appreciate this somewhat new as well. And so we're looking forward to being there. Obviously, everything kicks off next week, and I know you guys are busy, so I appreciate the time you took to join us. One quick question before I let you go. You were talking about fan experience. We're used to fans sitting with their own fans, per se. Is that still kind of the same thing, or is it a kind of a pick-your-place type thing?
So what's different this year is that we opted to do reserved seating options.
Okay.
And so what we have done on one side of the court, on the side of the court that's behind the benches, basically we have reserved the first 8 rows in a couple different sections right behind the benches that we're going to offer to the participating institutions to buy on Monday. So we're going to fill up those first 8 rows, and then past that, above that area, we've sold those tickets as reserved to local fans. We're also going to have on the opposite side of the court, behind the media bench or the media table,
bench. I like that. Go.
It's going to be open. It's going to be open seating. So it's kind of like one side of the arena will be reserved, and the other side will be general admission. So we hope it's kind of the best of both worlds. But what we found is that local fans that just wanted to buy tickets to come to the event to see championship basketball, they wanted to be able to pick their seat ahead of time. And that was a great suggestion brought to us by some local media, and then Visit Fort Wayne really brought that to us. And so we kind of managed the reserved seating so that we're going to have more reserved options available to purchase starting Monday for fans of the 4 participating schools. But we also have the general admission options as well if somebody just wanted to come Friday or just wanted to come Saturday.
Cool.
So hopefully it's the best of both worlds for everybody.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing how it works out. And ticket sales, how they've been going, and where can people find tickets?
Good. A pre-sale ticket started several months ago, and things are looking good so far. Go to muspartans.com/NCAA.
Okay.
That's the Manchester University website, muspartans.com/NCAA, and there are links to all the resources you need, the directions and the parking information and tickets and hotels and things to do. So muspartans.com/NCAA is where you can launch off and get everything you need.
Wonderful. Nathan, again, appreciate the time you took. We always give the guests the final word on this show. Any final thoughts you'd like to share with those tuned in?
So as we've gone through this process over the last few years, we've learned so much, and it seems like it has taken a long time to get here, but now it will be here and gone before we know it. So we just invite anybody who is a D3 Hoops fan to try to make it to Fort Wayne. Obviously, it's going to be a new experience for a lot of people, but our aim is to put on a great show. The players and the coaches will do their part, like they always do, to put it all on the line. But here in Fort Wayne, we're just trying to put on a great show for everybody, and hope to see everybody next week.
Well said. I appreciate, as I said, the time. Looking forward to seeing you next week, and looking forward to seeing Fort Wayne. And we'll look, we're looking forward to some great games, too. Take care of yourself, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you, Dave.
Absolutely. He's Nathan Dennison. He's the VP of Sales at Memorial Coliseum there in Fort Wayne. Again, websites, visit fortwayne.com for information on the city, hotels, restaurants, etc. And then muspartans.com/NCAA. That's M as in McHugh, but more importantly, muspartans.com/NCAA. When we come back, we'll switch gears, start talking about the women's weekend ahead. We got a couple of coaches ahead to talk about that, including from Mary Hardin Baylor and Tufts. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com from the WBCA NABC Studios. More Hoopsville after this.
I learned a lot of valuable lessons playing college football. I never thought about the health benefits of exercise until I actually started to talk to coaches in college. It's not only just for performance, it's for life. My coaches instilled the importance of well-being, not only building up strength, mental health, getting enough sleep, eating properly is all what it is to be healthy. I decided that I want to go into personal trainer and share my knowledge that I obtained in college about physical and mental well-being.
UW-Eau Claire and Mayo Clinic Health System are creating amazing opportunities for students from across the Midwest. Our collaborative research agreement allows students to work with world-renowned physicians and scientists. And with more than 80 majors, UW-Eau Claire is the perfect fit for those who dream big and are ready to change the world.
Big shots. Big dunks. This trophy is not given. It must be earned. The 2019 NCAA Division III Men's Basketball Championship, March 15th and 16th at the Allen County War Memorial Coliseum Arena in Fort Wayne.
With his third triple.
Visit ncaa.com/tickets and secure your seats today.
College basketball lives in Kansas City at the College Basketball Experience at Sprint Center. The College Basketball Experience is the place to get your game on. It's not a museum, it's an experience you won't forget. Discover the history of the game in the National Collegiate Basketball Hall of Fame, featuring the Gallery of Honor, Mentor's Circle, and Honor Theater. Suit up in the latest CBE logoed Nike gear at the CBE Hoop Shop. Elevate your game today and visit the house that college basketball built.
And welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody, on this Sunday evening. Reminder from our friend Andrew in the chat room. We should probably tell you about our programming for the next few days. We'll be on the air Sunday. I'm not going anywhere this weekend. First time I haven't traveled for sectionals in a while. First time I haven't traveled for any of the NCAA tournament until the Final Four. And I don't know how long. Work back here to pay the bills, more important, and been tied up with some things. But it will be on the air Sunday at 7. We'll recap and see who's going to the Final Fours. It tends to be a little bit more slanted towards the women because we won't have a chance to talk about them later in the week, whereas we'll be at the men's championship weekend. So forgive us if we don't focus heavily on the men. The women will get a lot of our love on Sunday. 7 o'clock Eastern. Next Thursday show doesn't exist. This is the last Thursday show of the season. We will be on the air ahead of the championship game or the semifinals on Friday. Both semifinals, we've tended not to do a post game because by the time things are, we've got enough on our hands. So we probably won't do a post game, but then we'll do a pregame between the All-Star game and championship game, and then we'll do a post game for the championship. And then we will do a final show. Last year, I think it was last year. Yeah, I think it was last year. We weren't able to do a final show. Our computer finally went on the fritz with us. But we hope to do a final show. We will. It's to be determined. I'm traveling all day Sunday, so it won't happen on Sunday. And I'm not sure. I might be able to do it Monday. If I can't do it Monday, it's going to have to be later in the week. Maybe we resurrect a late Thursday show, but at that point, it might be a little late. But anyway, follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Facebook. We'll keep you up to date on what's going on. On the women's sides of things, the Crusaders exacted some revenge last week. One, they got past Rhodes, but then two, they got past Texas Dallas, beating them in the second meeting in a week, losing to them in the conference championship, and then beating them when it really mattered. They now go on to Thomas More. They're already there in Kentucky, and they will take on a serious foe in Wash U. How are the Crusaders doing it, and can they maybe get to Salem on the women's side? Mark Moorfield rejoins us once again on the Blue Frame Technology Hoopsville hotline this season. And Coach, thanks for taking the time to join us there in Kentucky.
Well, thank you very much for having me on.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. Listen, we talked to you earlier this season. You guys clearly looked like the dominant team. To be blunt, you guys went all the way through January essentially with no losses. I don't really fault you for losing to Thomas More. Everybody has. And I would say that game was close. It was 18 points, relatively speaking. Granted, it was a closer game against Hardin-Simmons, but at that point, I'm sorry for... Let me rephrase that. For Thomas More, they had an interesting game with that weekend, is what I'm trying to get at. They played Texas Dallas before you guys in a battle, and then they kind of took out some anger with you guys.
Oh, yeah.
But what's more interesting is what happened since. You lost to Hardin-Simmons on the second, 61-59, and that was on the road. And I feel like that one kind of maybe jolted you guys just a wee bit. And then you lost Texas Dallas, and we'll get to that in a minute. But that Hardin-Simmons game kind of stands out because that's the one to try and wrap your mind around and understand the Crusaders. Did that one jump you guys? Did that surprise you, that game?
Yeah, and I think what surprised us was just the way we came out and how just our inability to make shots. And, you know, I feel like we're a pretty solid offensive team. We're shooting around 43% and on the year and so forth. And I think that's the one thing that just really jolted us. And, you know, it was the fifth game on the road, you know, going from Alpine, Texas to Brownwood and basically everywhere in West Texas.
Mark, you saying that's a long trip?
Oh, yeah. So, you know, and we've been in 5 straight, you know, and that was our 5th one. But I think more importantly, again, I think that's what jolted us to understand that we got to come out and we got to make sure that we're playing at an ability game in and game out that represents us and our program. And, you know, I thought we learned that after Thomas More. You know, we kind of came out starstruck in the first quarter, but then actually played well for the next 3 quarters against Thomas More. And, you know, I think we need to kind of be jolted again and relearn our lesson from Hardin-Simmons that, you know, hey, you got to bring it because we're learning how to play with a target on our back. And that was, I think, one of the things of where you say, okay, here's a team on paper, we're better than, but, you know, and on the floor. But people are going to raise their level to play at a different level against you than, you know, you look around other teams that they may play against in conference. And so it jolted us and kind of refocused us.
Yeah, interesting when you talk about that because, again, that loss kind of jumps out at everybody, the Hardin-Simmons loss. But then you did have the loss to Texas Dallas in the conference tournament. And, you know, there's some who said, well, geez, you guys should have hosted the opening weekend. And I think a lot of people looked at that loss and said, well, that's why Texas Dallas has it. Do you feel like that cost you guys that opportunity and almost that fed you guys maybe a little bit last weekend?
Oh, no question. I think you look at that. I think you look at Rhodes going through and winning their conference tournament too, and, you know, falling within the 500-mile radius and everything like that and the logistics of everything. But I think that, you know, that you can definitely pinpoint that game and say, hey, that's the issue right there. If we would have won that game, then we don't have any issues. But since we lost, you know, then obviously they're the ASC conference tournament champion, and they're gonna have the right to host. And so, you know, that was some things that are on the line, you know, and I think we kind of probably had a little tougher. You got a tougher route to the championship game, you know, after just a high-energy game against East Texas Baptist on Friday night, and a team that's won 20-plus this year and has been ranked. And, you know, nothing to take away anything from UTD, but you go McMurray, Hardin-Simmons, and then championship game, and we went Louisiana College, UTB, or UTD. So our path was a little bit tougher to get there. And I think, just emotionally drained as well, too. But, we didn't do our job either. We gave up 18 offensive rebounds. And, that's something that we had to be better. And I think it showed a week later when we played them in the NCAA tournament.
That was an interesting game. I felt like you were in more control than maybe the score indicated. I don't know if that's a fair way of saying. 66-57, you felt like maybe Polly Thomason could get her team back at the end, but it felt like you guys almost were just kind of, I don't want to say toying with them, but you just kind of had them at arm's length and you were good at just keeping them there. Is that a fair way of saying it or misread? Oh, looks like we lost Mark. That's unfortunate. We'll see if we can. Maybe he didn't like the question, or maybe Polly was listening and heard the question and didn't want us to talk about it anymore. See if we can get him back here. Forgive us. I think he didn't realize we've been disconnected. We'll see if we can get Mark back here in a moment. Again, if you got questions for us, you can always tweet us at D3Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville. You can email us, dave.mchugh@d3sports.com, or join us on Facebook at facebook.com/Hoopsville. Mark has called in, and we will get him back on the line, sir. Hello.
Oh, sorry about that.
That's
David.
all right. It happens. We understand. I thought maybe it was my question, that maybe either you didn't want to answer it or Polly didn't want you to answer it.
Yeah, no, definitely not that. Definitely not that at all. So
yeah, did you? So just to recap, that game against the second round game against Texas Dallas, I know it was somewhat close, but it didn't. There were times I just kind of looked at the game going, "Geez, they're in control." I don't feel like that the Texas Dallas is as close as it seems.
No, and if you look at it too, I think we held them to 5% in the first quarter. They were 19% or 16% for the game. I think if you look at the free throw discrepancy, they shot 34, we shot 17, and I think that's what really kept them in the game.
Yeah,
was obviously killing the clock, and then by killing the clock, and getting to the free throw line, that's what brought them back and kept them in the game. And Victoria Pena hit some big shots as well too, and so forth. But it really was the free throw count that really just kept them in the game. And we just as in the game of basketball, you're going to have runs and you're going to give up runs. But I really thought, if you look at it, we did our job from the field just like we did a week prior. We held them to 30%.
Yeah.
But the free throw discrepancy was probably the biggest thing when, they shoot 32, 34, we shoot 17. Well, as anytime you're stopping the clock and getting points, that's a big benefit to your team.
Yeah, fair point. Quickly about the team, we'll move on to the weekend. Obviously, we talked to you guys earlier in the season. We know who the leaders are, but it's still, you still have three players in double figures in Holt at 15, almost 16 points a game, 13 points for Rollins, 11 points for Blackwell. That certainly doesn't take away from what Elliott's doing. I know McCoy kind of runs the offense to a larger degree. 133 assists so far on the season. This team's got a lot of different options when it comes to offense. But as Dallas showed us too, you're all good about ratcheting up the defense too.
Oh yeah, and I think that's the thing too. You look again, and Polly does a great job. They run their stuff to a T, and it's hard to defend a guard like Victoria Pena. But I think that's the biggest thing is to hold a team of that caliber to 30% and then come back later and hold them to 19%, a week later too. And that's the one thing too is if you look in that first half again, you go back to 5%. I don't know if in my years of coaching I've ever experienced a quarter or any type of sequence in a game where you held the opponent to 5% from the field. And I think that's just one thing is when we want to play defense and we want to get down, our team is a pretty solid defensive team, and I think sometimes that's what you look at. You look at the fact of, I think we're averaging around 73 points a game, and like you said, you got Kendall Rollins, you got Alicia Blackwell, and obviously Hannah Holt, and then Aubrey Elliott, is a great six-man coming off the bench. But I think we kind of sometimes get overlooked by what we can do defensively, and we're holding opponents, I think, to around 34, maybe 33% from the field as well too. So, which is obviously pretty good. And so, again, I think it's just kind of more of just anything in athletics. You look for more offense than anything else, and not many people want to talk about your defense and so forth. And so, when we want to ratchet up and we want to get after it, I feel like we do a pretty good job. I think the biggest thing too is our team is great at responding after a loss. You look at the UTD loss and the things that hurt us. We went back and we looked and we talked about it. And I think that their ability to just really soak it in and be able to understand understand that and make that adjustment quick is what also helps us from a defensive standpoint.
Ahead of you, you got WashU. Of course, you're at Thomas More for these games, and both you and WashU have had to travel in. What have you seen in the Bears, especially in their win over George Fox, that you think you are prepared for, and what maybe do you guys need to adjust to?
Well, I think the biggest thing is going to the George Fox game. George Fox gave up about 24 points off the press and so forth, and so I know one thing, we're not going to press them and stuff. That's one thing we're not going to do. But I do know that, number 42, obviously their center is a tremendous center. She's a preseason All-American. She can face up and attack you off the dribble. She's got the ability to go, and go left, right. She's got a nice little, spin, take your middle, spin back baseline. She can stretch the defense. She loves to hang at the elbow area. So I know from a post-defensive standpoint, we really got to do our job and make sure that, our three-headed monster at the post, so to speak, is really on top of what they need to execute and making sure that we're executing the defensive plan. But, that's everything that, everything goes through her, through WashU. And I think that's the one thing is if we can do our job there and then force others to make plays and kind of be that standout player, then it maybe puts them in a different type of element than what they're used to. They got, obviously a tremendous shooter, two tremendous shooters, number 11 and number 12, that are just, number 11 just needs a very small window to be able to get her shot off.
Mm-hmm.
And so we got to really make sure that we can't help off too much. And number 12 is great. She's a great rhythm shooter. And again, we really can't help off those two. And we got to make sure that we know our personnel and be able to adjust and not get sunk so low defensively. And then obviously, number 5, their point guard, does a tremendous job of getting the ball ahead in transition, and we got to make sure that we level her off and find her in transition and not just let her just pick us apart and so forth. So we're going to have our hands full. Obviously, they start 5 seniors too, so that's even more impressive, that they have 5 seniors, and, we're going to have to really, really make sure that, we're doing our job defensively, but more importantly, it's going to come down to knowing personnel, understanding that in transition we get back, locate shooters, and post-wise defensively that we're executing what our game plan is going to be in the post and just try to make it hard.
Mm-hmm.
Number 42 and contest her shots.
Yeah. Do you dare look across the other side of the pod at all? I mean, obviously one of the teams you're darn familiar with in Thomas More, and then there's Transylvania. Do you dare take the time to look at this point? Can you afford to look past, and I'm not saying look past WashU, but you have such little time to turn around for that next game?
And I think it's one of the things from a coaching standpoint, as you're preparing for this tournament and you're preparing for this, you got to do your job, and you got to cover all 3 teams, and you got to have a feel. And obviously it's a benefit in helping us to play Thomas More earlier this year, so you have a general feel and some things that you can go back and things that hey, we got to be better at. But you also have the fact that you got to look at Transylvania and you got to be prepared. So I think from a coaching standpoint, we got to be fair to our team is you got to kind of be ready to cover. You got to be ready for WashU, but on the same token, you got to have a general feel for Transylvania, and you got to have a general feel for Thomas More, because you're right, that turnaround is going to be so quick that you got to be able to get there, flip that switch, and prepare for Saturday.
I know you don't want to look too far ahead at the possibility of going to Salem, but I'm curious if you should get past this weekend and you're heading to Salem for the Final Four, how quickly will you be down the hall to Pete Friedenberg's office or Kent DeWeese's office to talk to them about what it's like to be in Salem?
Well, and that's the great thing about it is obviously I work with 2 tremendous coaches, and Coach Friedenberg and Coach DeWeese, that have been there and have experienced it. And actually, we've already had Coach Friedenberg come and talk before the NCAA tournament.
Oh, cool.
To our team. And so just about how to play with, during this time and how to manage through the NCAA tournament and so forth. And so that's the great thing about it is that you have coaches who have been through it that you can pick their brain and find out, how did you kind of navigate the waters and everything like that. And so they're tremendous resources that, we definitely want to utilize, and that we make sure that we can, gain some knowledge from and help our program if we get to that point.
Yeah, and obviously I don't want to look too far down the road. By the way, I think I said Friedenberg. I meant Fredenberg. Apologize.
Yeah.
Don't know where that came from. We certainly know the Crew football program just as well here on Hoopsville as anything, as we follow football very closely and help the guys at D3 football. Again, not looking too far ahead, but one thing I find interesting, you lose 2 seniors from this team. Obviously, Elliott, we mentioned. There's the other. It doesn't jump out on the stat sheet, but what jumps out at me is this team's gaining valuable experience in this tournament, and that all comes back next year.
Oh yeah, and I think any of this is obviously going to be a huge help when you return your whole starting five, and even with some of the freshmen that are getting minutes, that are going to be able to step up into a higher role next year. And then more importantly too, what you're looking at is not only that, but you're also looking at the fact that there's a couple girls that are sitting out this year due to injuries that could have really been an impact for us this year. That they'll be back next year. But again, you have your whole starting five, and you basically have your whole rotation. Obviously, you're losing your sixth man in Aubrey Elliott, but again, you're also getting freshmen that are getting valuable experience that will be able to step into that. And so that excites you about the future. Now, the thing is, you just got to keep them focused and realize that, win, lose, or draw, or whatever happens in this tournament, that we got to come back and we got to make sure that, that they stay focused and that they're committed to getting better and take it to that next level.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, I appreciate the time to chat with us, and looking forward to seeing how the crew do this weekend. It is all difficult games at this point, so certainly you can expect a good weekend there in Thomas More. As always, we give the coach the final word. Any final thoughts you want to share with those tuned in?
Well, I love that you guys are having us on. Thank you very much for having us on and being able to share just a little bit about our program and the NCAA tournament. You guys do a tremendous job, and you guys are really bringing in a sense of excitement and knowledge to D3 basketball, and I think that's the crucial thing, because I think it's a very tough and competitive level that, day in and day out, you got to come be prepared to play.
Agreed. Well said. Thank you for the kind words. Good luck. Safe travels at least home, no matter when you head back. But enjoy the weekend, and we'll look forward to talking to you down the road.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. Mark Moorfield joining us here on the Blue Frame Technology Hoopsville Hotline. All interviews on the Hoopsville Hotline, courtesy of our partners at Blue Frame Technology. Their industry-leading production truck software. Is your college ready to showcase its teams through a reliable and innovative video streaming service that won't break your budget? Blue Frame's advanced digital broadcast tools will help take your broadcast to the next level. Learn more today by visiting blueframetech.com. That's www.blueframetech.com. And tell them I sent you. If you're looking to go with either production truck software, web streaming partner with them, or all of that, tell them I sent you. Tell them you heard about it on Hoopsville. Again, that game against Wash U and Mary Hardin Baylor coming up at 5 o'clock Eastern. That game at Thomas More. Take a break. When we come back, Carla Berube from Tufts Women's Basketball joins us. They have a game against Messiah that they almost weren't going to be playing in, as Haverford gave them all they could muster. They are playing that in Scranton, and we'll hear from Carla about what she thinks of it all. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com from the WBCA NABC Studios. More Hoopsville when we come back.
Being a part of the different activities and organizations that I've been a part of, I'm actually able to see myself where I'm like, hey, I actually can make a change. I'm one person that can make a difference.
Division III has helped me to develop teamwork skills, critical thinking skills, time management skills.
It's not just about basketball, or it's not just about school. It's about developing yourself as a person altogether.
Welcome to the University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire, home of Blue Gold Athletics. UW-Eau Claire has been ranked a top 5 regional public university for over 20 years. We graduate champions with the lowest debt and highest return on investment in the Midwest. Blue Gold Athletics is a Directors Cup Top 20 Division III program offering 22 sports with almost 700 student athletes. UW-Eau Claire is about excellence in the classroom, the field of competition, and the community. Are you the next Blue Gold?
My name is Marcus Walker. I was All-State, won a state championship, a high school All-American, and played college and pro ball. I played because I love the game. I grind to be the best. I sweat because I put in work. I'm strong because I believe. When I want to bring it before game time, I come to the house that college basketball built, the CBE. No matter your skill, take it to another level. Elevate your game right here at the College Basketball Experience at Sprint Center.
Big shots. Teamwork. This trophy is not given. It must be earned. The 2019 NCAA Division III Women's Basketball Championship, March 15th and 16th at the Krager Center in Salem.
Bounces right back with a triple. Great job here. And that'll do it!
Visit ncaa.com/tickets and get your tickets today.
Welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody, on this Thursday evening. We'll have one more segment after our chat here with Carla Berube. So if you got questions for us, tweet us at D3Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville. Email us email is dave.mchugh@d3sports.com. And join us on Facebook, facebook.com/Hoopsville, where we're live streaming the event, as always. So it seems a little weird in the NESCAC this year, as if you look back at what Tufts has done, they've had 3 30-win seasons in the last 5 seasons and could do it again this year. They have had 8 20-plus win seasons in the last 9 seasons, 8 20-win seasons in the last 9, and they've had 11 of their last 12 be 20-win seasons. It usually was the Tufts and Amherst conversation. This year it was the Amherst and Bowdoin conversation, and Tufts seemed to fly a little bit under the radar. Interestingly enough, there are only 2 losses, Bowdoin and Amherst, both of them at Tufts. But they exacted their revenge and got past both of them in the conference tournament, which obviously put them in a very nice position in the NCAA tournament. But, geez, they almost didn't get out at home again this week when Haverford gave them a game in the second round. All of that is to say that's why we haven't talked to Carla Berube sooner, and why we nearly didn't talk to Carla Berube. But joining us on the Blue Frame Technology Hoopsville hotline is the aforementioned Carla Berube. Coach, thanks for taking the time.
Thanks for having me, Dave.
Really interesting season. I feel like as good as you guys have been over the years, you flew under the radar in the NESCAC to some degree. I know you were ranked pretty high most of the season, but everybody was talking Bowdoin and Amherst. You must have felt good about that, while at the same time knowing you weren't helping that because you also lost to those 2 teams.
Sure. I mean, you know, the NESCAC is so strong, and of course, you know, Amherst and Bowdoin had terrific NESCAC seasons and regular seasons, and but you know, we were right there next to them. So I don't know if we're really flying under the radar, you know, too much, but yeah,
relatively speaking,
yeah, we did lose to them in the regular season in our gym, and but we, you know, I think we've been playing really well lately in February and into the NESCAC tournament, and yeah, I mean, yeah, the Haverford game was Haverford playing really, really well, and you know, they have a really tough defense, and yeah, we almost didn't get out of our that first pod, but we're happy to be, you know, in the Sweet 16 now, and in Scranton, Pennsylvania, which we know very well, and ready to go tomorrow night.
Back up a little bit again. The loss on the 5th of January at home against Bowdoin, 82-63. The loss against Amherst on February 1st, 50-40, again at your place. And of course, there's no double round robin, so you'll go to their places next season. But you did have to travel to Bowdoin for the conference tournament, and getting past, first off, Williams in the first part of the tournament at your place, but then getting past Amherst in a great game, 47-46, and then getting past Bowdoin in a flipped opposite game because it was 75-69. How hard is that to play on back-to-back nights, and how did your team seem to find themselves so well, especially in the game against Bowdoin?
Yeah, I mean, the back-to-back is what we're used to in the NESCAC, playing, you know, Friday night, Saturday. But to, you know, put 2, you know, really good games together and beat those 2 opponents, yeah, I was really, really happy for my players and for my seniors, and you know, and to win up at Bowdoin, which is a really, really difficult place to play. You know, they packed the house with their incredible following, and you know, to do that the day after, you know, beating a tough Amherst team, right? It was kind of a tale of 2 different games where, you know, it's so hard to buy a basket in a tough Amherst game. And then in the Bowdoin game, you know, the offense was flowing on both ends, making a lot of shots, and so yeah, it really was an incredible weekend, and you know, to win the NESCAC championship is such an amazing thing, and in pretty much any sport in the NESCAC. So you know, we were thrilled. Got
past Western New England in a game, you know, over early. But then Haverford, I remember when we tuned into that one on the whip around, you had all of us. You had Gordon, Ryan, and I all just kind of taken aback. Not you, but I mean the game did. Bobby Morgan certainly seemed to have a game plan working against you guys. Granted, they were hitting their shots. And there was a point in that fourth quarter that I think we all were kind of sitting here wondering what's going to happen here. What changed in that fourth quarter? Did they run out of gas, or did you guys find another gear?
I thought that down the stretch, our defense really came up big, forced a couple turnovers, forced a couple, shots maybe they didn't want to take. And then we, made the free throws we needed to make down the stretch. And Emily Briggs hit a big shot with just a minute and a half to go or 2 minutes to go. And, just needed, made the plays we needed to in big moments. And, we've been doing that. We had to do that in the Amherst game and Bowdoin game. So, just ready for those moments.
Obviously, 4 for 14 from beyond the arc probably stung a little bit in shooting 30%. You guys had to get it done on the defensive end because offensively, you guys weren't your normal selves.
No, I'm not. Yeah, just couldn't buy some baskets, and
it is the home court, right?
I know, and we haven't played our best basketball in our own gym, so we've been kind of road warriors. So maybe it's a good thing that we are on the road this weekend. But just never know when shots are going to be made and not made. So. But yeah, I mean, to get through Haverford, and Bobby Morgan did an amazing job, and they really took it to us, and give them a lot of credit that we were lucky enough to survive and advance. Yeah. So bad news for everybody in Scranton is you might be better on the road. You'll take on Messiah there in the first game, and potentially either Scranton or Christopher Newport in the second game. You're the odd man out. You're the only non-Mid-Atlantic team sitting in this pod. But you know the place well, as you've mentioned. This hasn't been necessarily a bad place to play. How are you guys getting ready for Messiah? Yeah, I mean, they're just a really, really tough team, another really great defensive team. And, but we're familiar with them. We played them last year in the same game, and, know some of these same players, and but they know us as well. So, we're just going to stick to getting ready, it shouldn't matter, who we're playing. We just need to be at our best tomorrow night. At this stage of the game, we've got to be playing our best basketball. So, we're familiar with all these three teams in the last couple of years, with Christopher Newport being at the Final Four a couple of years ago, and, us playing Scranton a few times in the last couple of years. So, there's a familiarity, and this gym is a place we're familiar with. So, hopefully good things happen this weekend. Yeah, you last year was Messiah in the same game as you mentioned, and you guys got past them 70-39. Unfortunately, it was Bowdoin on the other end of that bracket that you couldn't get past. But 2 years before that, you had Albright and Scranton at Scranton. And interestingly enough, I got past both of them. So if it's Mid-Atlantic teams, it looks good. Luckily, there's no NESCAC teams sitting on the other side of that. Talk about your team quick. You're led by a senior in Jack Knapp, 13.5 points a game, also 3.5 rebounds, 3 assists a game, 2 steals a game, if anybody's counting at home. You then have a junior in Erica DeCandino. Candido. I added an N in there. 13 points a game, 5.5 rebounds, 3.5 assists a game. That duo alone, just in the fact of shooting, rebounding, and distributing, can make things difficult for people because you can't key on one of them to do one of those things. Yeah, those are our 2 captains, senior and a junior, and our backbone. Both really great all-around players, but on both ends. Jack's our point guard, and Erica's our 4 player. Erica's a tough guard because she can score from the perimeter, but also gets a lot done in the paint. And Jack's really shot the ball well for us, and also just a great slasher, great leader. Those 2 have been great, and they've got some really great teammates around them, some really good pieces and players that, different players have been stepping up around them, which is great. I think we go pretty deep, and some freshmen stepping up, some upperclassmen. So, yeah, really happy with what we have.
Another theme of the night is of youth to some degree. Yes, Knapp is a senior, and you have one other in Martinson. Otherwise, it's juniors and sophomores and freshmen for this unit. This is a team. You're building this group kind of that kind of retools. It never has to rebuild. You're always going to be in the conversation. We talked about all those 20-win seasons and even those 30-win seasons you've had of late. That feels like something that's been important. You want to keep that level. How difficult, though, is it out there on the recruiting trails to keep the talent coming in that meets what your expectations have become?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for everyone, but I feel like I have a really great school, a really great academic school to sell. So, you know, it makes it easier, and you know, and to sell that, you know, we're playing in the NESCAC, which is just one of the, you know, the greatest conferences in all of D3 athletics. So, yeah, you know, and the biggest sell is when, you know, student athletes come on campus, they meet our players and see our facilities, and you know, it's great. Really, really happy the atmosphere environment that we have at Tufts. It's a great place to spend your 4 years of college.
Sure. I didn't get a chance to read through the entire article, but I saw there was an article out recently out of those associated with UConn talking to you, and obviously they still revere you and those powerhouse teams that you were on at UConn. I know you made a lighthearted joke about Coach Ariema having so many championships and you haven't gotten your first, but what does it mean that you're still kind of on the lips of UConn fans, and has that had any benefit for you as a coach in Division III?
I don't know. I mean, we have some players from Connecticut that maybe their grandparents remembered me, but that's
there we go.
Might be it. Yeah, I mean, you know, we're not too far from Connecticut, and we play, you know, at Wesleyan and at Conn College and at Trinity. So, you know, I go down there a little bit and try to go to, you know, UConn games when I can. Usually see them at the Final Four every year. So, you know, those true UConn fans never forget their Huskies. So, but yeah, it was a nice article that you know, they do still remember some of the oldies.
Does it feel like you have to win a national championship? And I mean that seriously. You know, everyone puts their mind on championships, but it's so difficult to do in Division III. Or have you guys, what you've achieved without the championships, is that just as important or should be saluted and celebrated just as much as those who might win titles?
Yeah, I mean, we're not, you know, the value of our program isn't, you know, based on how many championships we've won. And, you know, I think it's the experience that my players have, and them wanting to be a part of this jumbo, you know, basketball family, you know, once they leave Tufts, and, you know, and the relationships they have. That's what's most important to me. And, you know, I would love for my players to have, you know, Final Four experiences and memories every single year. And a championship would be, you know, icing on that cake. But, you know, when they come back 10, 15 years down the road, and tell my players, tell my current players just what kind of experience they had, that's what means the most to me.
Well, I appreciate the time you took to chat with us. Good luck this weekend, as obviously it's not going to be easy because they're not easy at this point, but Messiah first, and then we'll see how it plays out after that. As always, give the coach the final word. Any final thoughts you'd like to share with those who may be tuned in?
Yeah, no, thanks for everything, Dave. It's been another tremendous year, and all about your hard work. I'm really excited about this all-star game that's happening at the Final Four, and Jack Knapp has made that all-star team. So just really great things happening in D3 hoops. So thanks again.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. Congratulations to her. Enjoy the trip to Salem, no matter how it works out, hopefully with your whole team, and we'll look forward to talking to you down the road.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks, Dave.
No problem. Carla Berube joining us on the Blue Frame Technology Hoopsville hotline. Yeah, again, the All-Star women's team has been announced. They announced the whole team and admit some players may not be able to play because they're in the championship weekend. In that case, they'll have alternatives and backup players ready to announce early next week. We'll talk a little bit more about that on Monday. If anybody's looking for the announcement, it was announced on WBCA.org. We should also point out that there's an all-star vote on the women's side that runs through the 11th. Find more information again at our partners WBCA.org on that as well. So, and actually, I should double check that. I know I was reading it just the other day. Yeah, WBCA.org. I was right. So it's in their headline section. Check it out. The Beyond Sports WBCA All-Star Game is up, and fans do get a chance to vote there. You can get all the information at WBCA.org. Speaking of NESCAC and Bowdoin, I wanted to point out, so this season's had an interesting twist when we've been very busy with Navy and thankful for the opportunities we've had there. I called a women's game earlier this season. I don't remember if I mentioned it in the earlier shows, but Stephanie Pemper, the head coach for the Navy women's basketball team, of course, was Bowdoin's former head coach. She's now in her 11th season at Navy, and I thought maybe there was a chance this weekend that I would be actually PA announcing a Navy Patriot League playoff game. But unfortunately, things did not go Navy's way last night, and they will be on the road instead on Saturday. So I can't bookend my season with Navy/NESCAC women's basketball, but I'll be enjoying the games nonetheless. And by the way, that is one of the reasons I can't travel this weekend. I'm busy with Navy. There's a women's lacrosse game on Saturday and maybe now a men's basketball game on Sunday. Granted, some things have to go right, but I was kind of looking forward to the Navy women's basketball, but didn't work out. But we wish Coach Pemper and her squad well as they move forward. We also wish Carla Berube and her squad at Tufts well as well. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll wrap up the show, final thoughts, and any questions you might shoot our way. Listen to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com from the WBCA NABC Studios. More Hoopsville after this.
We are the coaches of women's basketball. We are leaders and teachers, dreamers and winners. We are professionals who conduct ourselves ethically and with integrity. We place the education, safety, and well-being of the athletes we coach above all else and teach them the fundamental values they need to succeed in life. We are coaches united for the good of our game and those who play it. We are the WBCA.
Great moments are born from great opportunity. That's what you have here tonight. That's what you've earned here tonight. This is your time. Now go out there and take it.
It's on us. It's on all of us. And it's time to act now.
It's on us to start the change. It's on us to be the change. It's on us. It's on Division III. It's on all of us to stop sexual assault.
Big shots. Teamwork. This trophy is not given. It must be earned. The 2019 NCAA Division III Women's Basketball Championship, March 15th and 16th at the Krager Center in Salem.
Bounces right back with a triple. Great job here. And that'll do it!
Visit ncaa.com/tickets and get your tickets today.
It starts right when you hit the court. You imagine your finest moment. The game-winning shot that gets you to the dance, a monster dunk or no-look pass, and cutting down the net. Sports lets us dream of our own success and prepare us for our finest moments on and off the court.
Welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody. As we wrap up tonight's show, a little bit of overtime here as we get going. If you got any last-second questions, fire them their way to us via Twitter at D3Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville. Email us, Hoopsville or Dave.McHugh at D3Sports.com. Dave.McHugh at D3Sports.com. Scrolling at the bottom of your screen. Of course, on Facebook, we're simulcasting, facebook.com/Hoopsville, and we're simulcasting on Periscope as well. If you happen to be tuned in, fire your questions. We'll see if we can answer them up in the next 10 or so minutes. So a great weekend of basketball ahead. You know, again, on the men's side, a little bit surprising that it went as chalk as it went to some degree. Yes, there were some upsets. Certainly Nebraska Wesleyan losing, being the number 1 team in the country, is not necessarily chalk. But outside of that, a lot of the top teams won. That we got a lot of ranked teams left. And ranked teams had to lose along the way. But it's certainly going to be a great weekend of basketball with a chance to go to Fort Wayne at the Allen County War Memorial Coliseum. Now, Whitman and Williams is going to be a dandy of a game. Really, it's going to come down to whoever style is going to dictate that. Christopher Newport and Hamilton. I think Hamilton's in for a little bit of a surprise in the defense that Christopher Newport is clearly playing, and I don't think those like myself have truly appreciated this season. Hamilton has been playing by fire a little bit too much this season. If Hamilton is turning the ball over against that Christopher Newport defense, the Continentals are in trouble. Plain and simple. If Williams is going to have trouble, and I'm stealing this a little bit from Ryan Scott, if Williams has trouble handling the ball, especially against that Whitman defense, they're going to be in trouble. Amherst versus Nichols. You heard Dave Hixon talk about how it's more than the Marcos Echeverria show. Nichols really impressed me against Middlebury. Granted, Middlebury was banged up a little bit, but I still don't know. I know it was a 3-point game. I don't know if a full strength Middlebury is able to handle Nichols comfortably. Rowan was certainly looking good, and Nichols held them at bay. And in Swarthmore, what they did to MIT, a good MIT team has got to scare those like the Yellow Jackets. That said, can Swarthmore do that continuously? It looks like they go out there, they kind of shock and awe you at the beginning of the game and then kind of relax near the end if they've got a comfortable lead. It's the teams that even like McDaniel did this earlier in the season where Swarthmore had a lead and McDaniel came back on them. That's where Swarthmore is a little bit more at risk, is if a team in the second half gets that wind and runs back on the Garnet, who haven't led up to any degree, but I don't think are playing at the same intensity they play the opening 10 minutes, let's say. Randolph-Macon's a really good team. That's going to be a dandy of a game to watch. St. Thomas and Guilford, this is a game a bit of unknowns against two really good and well-coached teams. Tom Palumbo, as you heard John Taurer talking about earlier, has a team that rebounds well, defends well. What is St. Thomas going to be able to compare that to? Granted, St. Thomas has played against some really good teams this season, but are they like Guilford? And is Guilford ready for a team like St. Thomas? Guilford's been the giant killer all season. They have knocked off Randolph-Macon teams and whatnot. Can they continue that? That's the question. Oshkosh against Loras. Oshkosh trying to get back to the national championship game with a lot of expectations. Loras has been the other giant killer. It's Guilford and Loras, the two giant killers this season. They've beaten both. Loras has Nebraska Wesleyan and Augustana this season, and D2's Augustana. Loras can get it done. Now, that doesn't mean Loras can't trip up. They beat North Central, another giant win, but the Dewhawks have struggled against Dubuque this season. Luckily won that third game, but they had lost the previous two. So, a little bit of an unknown there in how Loras comes out against Oshkosh. And, of course, it's at Oshkosh. You got to figure Ben Boots and that squad is going to be ready. Augustana against Wheaton. It's the third matchup with these two teams. Aston Francis, another great article on the front page of D3Hoops.com about him against Augustana. You heard on Sunday Mike Schauer talking about they're approaching this game like it's not a familiar foe. In other words, they're not going in and going, hey, we know it's Augustana, we're going to do things a little bit different. No, they're going into it as if, who is Augustana? As if they haven't played them before. It'll be fascinating to see how that changes the equation. Of course, it's at Rock Island. And Marietta and Oswego. I think Oswego's got a lot of things people can't wrap their minds around. I don't think even I can fully appreciate the Lakers squad. Marietta has been there all season long. They've got some odd losses, though, in conference, and that conference has been tough. This game I could see going one of two ways. This is either going to be an absolute nail-biter down to the end, or it's not going to be close. And I hate to say it. I think it's because I don't know enough about Oswego as much as I've watched them. I'm perplexed sometimes when watching the Lakers on what I'm watching. Jay Cozen says, hey, hi to Navy's Ed Dessels for me. Jay, I'll try and do that. I don't know how often I see Ed. When he was the head coach of Penn State, he and his staff used to have a father-son basketball weekend camp. It was an outstanding. Many of the dads struggled to walk properly for a few weeks afterward. John Perry was involved, one of his assistants now, and Danny Earl, one of the head coach of VMI. Ed is a class act. Listen, if I see Ed on Sunday, and it's going to take some what ifs for me to see Ed on Sunday, I will try and remember to say that. I did call a men's basketball game at the beginning of last season, and believe it or not, I'm already slated for a men's basketball game at the beginning of next season. I already got asked to put that on my calendar. So I will see Ed at some point, Jay. I'll try and remember to say hi to him for you. On the women's side of things, we'll quickly go through that bracket. Thomas More in Transylvania. Listen, I was really impressed with what Transylvania has done in the second half of this season and what they did against a really good Oglethorpe squad. I don't even think Chicago would have been able to beat Transylvania. They beat Oglethorpe by 20, and it didn't even feel that close. The problem is they're going up in a juggernaut in the Saints. Now, Thomas More had to fight back against Trine and use an epic third quarter to do it. But now they're into their cycle. You know what I'm saying? Coming into last weekend, it was only their second weekend of basketball in 6-7 weeks. And that first weekend in the ACAA tournament, nothing to write home about. It didn't challenge them. They finally got that challenge. Trine kind of woke them up. The worst news there is if it woke them up, they're going to go like a buzzsaw through the rest of this tournament. The other side of that is maybe they haven't figured out how to wake up. And Transylvania, maybe you can take advantage of that. But the Pioneers have got a tall task there in Madison Temple. And it's going to be tough. Mary Hardin-Baylor against Wash U. Listen, the way Wash U played against George Fox, I don't know if anybody can beat them. But Mary Hardin-Baylor is playing very well. I think that's a great game of unknown teams, at least when facing off against each other. I don't know if either team can find a squad that they played this season that they can be familiar with and get prepared for that. The games in Crestview Heights, Kentucky, which will be the last time we play in Crestview Heights, Kentucky in Division III, will be really interesting to watch. In Scranton, listen, Christopher Newport's going to give Scranton a hell of a time with their defense. The question becomes, how healthy is Scranton, to be blunt? Scranton is a really good basketball team when they're at 100%. They are susceptible when they are not at 100%. And Bridget Mann seems to be back. She had 19 points against Johns Hopkins last weekend. They certainly look good. You can't forget players like Mackenzie Mason either. But nothing against Hopkins or anybody else that Scranton faced. Christopher Newport's a different beast, and you need to be at 100%. I'm really going to be interested in how that game plays out between Broderick and Woodruff. On the other side, Messiah versus Tufts. Messiah probably still tastes that 70-39 loss they had to Tufts last year. Tufts is going to be, very keen after nearly losing to Haverford. I'm not sure how that game plays out. It's just disappointing 3 Mid-Atlantic teams are all in the same pod there. I think I don't know where, but it would have been nice to have a little more diversity, but maybe it wasn't possible. Up at St. Paul, St. Thomas versus Amherst is a great game. I don't think Amherst is as good as they have been in years past. If you want to put that on a bulletin board, if you want to put that in the locker room, so be it, go ahead. But I think the facts are there that they're not as good as they have been the last few years. They are the 2-time defending champs. You never put past anything on GP Gramacki. He's going to have his team ready, but this is a very, very good and determined St. Thomas squad. I would be shocked if Amherst comes out of this weekend, to be blunt. Oshkosh versus Wartburg is a fascinating game. Wartburg is on a tear. How they dismantled Hope is mind-blowing after dismantling Bethany Lutheran, which maybe isn't as surprising. If they do that to Oshkosh, you better watch out. Oshkosh versus Thomas More in a championship game could be insanely good. Not that I'm saying it's happening, but if they get through Oshkosh and then Thomas More or Amherst, I be watching out for Wartburg. That team is better than people realize. Those are going to be some great games in St. Paul, Minnesota at St. Thomas. And then on the other side, DeSales versus Ithaca. 2 teams that hosted last week that are very good. I think this might be the best DeSales team I've seen, maybe ever. New Paltz has proven that they are a very good team this year, and they're going up against Bowdoin, who had some trouble with Smith. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if only one NESCAC team got to the final weekend, and I wouldn't be surprised if none of them did. But my bet is one gets there. I don't think three do. I'm 50-50 on two getting there. That's my take on the women's side of things for this weekend. So it'll be fun to watch. We'll be here on Sunday to cover it all for you, and we hope you'll join us. It will be, again, a little bit more of a women's-centric show because we do so much at the men's side that we don't want to necessarily kind of use up all of our material on Sunday, but more importantly, we aren't going to get a really good chance to talk about the women's ahead of their championship weekend. So Sunday takes more of a women's focus of a show. We may get one, maybe two men's segments in there, but we hope we'll talk to the city of Salem. We hope to talk about the All-Star game, and we'll talk to two, maybe more of the women's teams still around dancing, depending on how things are going. Chris Mitchell says, watching the show from Holiday Inn in Cincinnati Airport. Fan of the show, Dave. Fan of yours, Chris. What are you doing in the Cincinnati Airport? Oh, what am I talking about? You're with the team. I'm sorry. I'm so used to your assistant being with the women's team that I didn't even dawn on me that you would be there, Chris. Hope you're enjoying that one, sir. All right, so quick note past this. If you are a coach for the NABC, there is a banquet, or not a banquet, a reception that we are annually hosting every year on Thursday. It starts at 7 o'clock. Should get some more information from those at the NABC, but it'll be at Connor's Kitchen. We'll tweet out some invites later next week, but we hope we'll see everybody there. Of course, looking forward to being in Fort Wayne. We'll be arriving on Wednesday, setting up on Thursday, pre-games on Friday. I'm part of the broadcast crew with Brendan Gulick, who graduated from John Carroll, by the way, so it's an all D3 crew for you all, just like it has been the last few years, because, by the way, Lincoln Rose is a D3 guy as well. So looking forward to having a D3 flair. I will say now, we don't know what's going on with the championship game as per its broadcast. I don't want to get too far into the weeds, but being that it's conference championship weekend, we aren't sure exactly when or how CBS plans to broadcast the game. CBS Sports Network, again, has the game. They plan to broadcast it. Best I understand it is on their network on tape delay. However, by rule, the game has to air live on the internet somewhere. The question now becomes, will CBS produce their own and air it on the internet and then tape delay it for network, or will they just tape delay it for network and we at Turner, at Tupelo Raycom/NCAA, me and Brendan, then bring you the video broadcast, or will there be some other version of events? We're unsure. We haven't heard the latest. CBS, I think, still figuring it out, but we'll keep you abreast as to what that news is. So again, the championship game will air online somewhere live. We just don't know where yet. It will then be tape delayed, as I understand it, on CBS Sports Network later that day on the men's side. The women's game, don't worry about. Women will be broadcast as it normally is. Our own Gordon Mann will be the color commentator on the women's side. I am thrilled that Gordon is getting that opportunity and that Tupelo Raycom took the suggestion. I don't know who his play-by-play guy is. I need to catch up on that. But Gordon will be on the color, and looking forward to having him, of course, doing the All-Star game as well. By the way, also, there may be a change in our broadcast on the men's All-Star game. More news coming when it's finally locked down. Not in a bad way, just in a way of trying to showcase the game a little bit more. So I think I got that all out there. Justin says, great show. Loving your broadcast from a Holiday Inn near the Cincinnati airport. Why do I have a feeling that Justin and Chris are in the same place? Justin and Chris, go find each other. You can talk about how great this show is. And we'll see everybody, obviously, in Fort Wayne, but we got to get through Sunday's show. So enjoy the games. No whip around. I'm going to enjoy my Friday night with family and watching the games. We may be going out. I'm bringing my iPad and my phone and maybe my computer to watch as many games as I can. They're just going to have to deal with it. And then Saturday night, looking forward to sitting and watching games as well, maybe with my son. And then Sunday we'll be on the air 7 o'clock Eastern time, again, with a little bit more of a centric towards women's show. And then we'll be on the air with pregame shows next Friday from the men's championship weekend. I think we got it covered. Double check any last-minute questions that we may have received to make sure we didn't miss anything, because I hate missing things from any of you. Looks like we're good, so we'll sign off from here. So I want to thank John Taurer from St. Thomas, Dave Hixon from Amherst, Nathan Dennison from Allen County War Memorial Coliseum and the city of Fort Wayne, Indiana. Mark Moorfield from Mary Hardin Baylor and Carla Berube from Tufts. And, of course, I want to thank the sports information directors, Gene at St. Thomas, who actually gave me some gems of information. Gene is a very witty writer. Amherst, of course, I want to thank Craig. He always gives us a lot of help, and we appreciate that. Visit Fort Wayne. I want to thank all of them for their support. Of course, go to muspartans.com/NCAA. That's muspartans.com/NCAA for more ticket information. Hold on. I'm actually going to try and put that on the screen for you. How's that sound, huh? What? Crazy. I know. Wild and wacky. So, again, musports.com is where you're looking for that. That didn't pop the way I was hoping it would. Let's try this again. Nope, still not working the way I wanted to. You can also go to visitfortwayne.com for more information. That'll help you as well. There we go. Got it on the screen now. We'll get it up for you. So for ticket information, again, go to muspartans.com/NCAA for information on the area, attractions, hotels, etc. Go to visitfortwayne.com. Those are our partners in crime, as it were, there at, there, plain and simple. And on the women's side, we hopefully will hear from City of Salem and talk to them about their setup on Sunday with ticket information. You can always go to ncaa.com/tickets, but you can also go to, I believe, Roanoke College website. Athletics will have information there. I want to thank also the SIDs at Mary Hardin Baylor and Tufts. Paul at Tufts is always great, and we love John at Mary Hardin Baylor. Appreciate their support as well. Raul says, really digging all this great information, insight into the Sweet 16. Well, thank you, Raul. I appreciate that. We do our best to give as much information as we possibly can, and we hope you enjoy it. Of course, go to d3hoops.com for even more, including great stories again today. One about Aston Francis and how well he's playing. Nathan Ford put a great piece together about him. Our Road to Salem featured Madison McCoy and Mary Hardin Baylor and our teammates. There's good to read about the redhead from East Texas. Check that out if you get the chance. Also, CNU seniors, talking about them. Joe Sager put a nice show together, or story about them. And we mentioned earlier Ryan Scott with a wonderful Road to Fort Wayne story about the Tommies and the 12-year challenge. It's worth a read. Those are all on the front page of d3hoops.com, and more information will be there throughout the weekend as well. And with that, we sign off. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. I want to thank our partners at let's go through it. D3hoops.com, Women's Basketball Coaches Association, National Association of Basketball Coaches. Also want to thank those at Wisconsin Eau Claire Athletics for their support, Blue Frame Technology as well, and of course, visit Fort Wayne and the City of Salem for their support of this program. Real quick note, again, the All-Star Women's Game has been announced, and there is a fan vote going. That fan vote is not on our site at d3hoops.com. Go to WBCA.org for more information how you can vote for the last two players on the Women's All-Star team. And with that, we sign off. Good night, everybody. You've been listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com from the WBCA NABC Studios. If you want to talk Division III basketball, you've got to listen to Hoopsville. We'll see you back here on Sunday night, 7 o'clock Eastern, as we start looking at who's made it to Salem and who's made it to Fort Wayne. Good night, everybody.